It all comes down to this one final race underway here for the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld. And what better fitting way than to end off what has so far been an absolutely thrilling championship at one of the most treacherous and fearsome racetracks in the entire world. It is the Mount Panorama Circuit live on RaceSpotTV. Welcome to RaceSpotTV once again. My name is Lorenzo with Lorenzo Bonder. Beside me in the broadcast booth, the lovely Dame Baird working down behind the cameras for us here for tonight's presentation. 2 hours of racing underway for the final time here tonight, as it's going to be one heck of a show. These drivers are going to be trying to get themselves sorted here, and I have a feeling here, Lorenzo, this could very well be one of the biggest races we've had so far all season.
Yeah, and also the most treacherous. Of course, now if we're talking about championship implications, I don't think we're going to see that much in terms of all three divisions. Basically, Division 1 and Division 2 are already settled with Delta Sport. And also, just taking a quick look, it's going to be German Sim Racing taking the top spots right there. But we're going to look that closer. Div 3 still has a few combinations for us to play out. So for some, a coronation race to wrap up the season, but also top 6 to avoid pre-quali shenanigans moving forward is going to be important. There's still some spots open in all 3 divisions, as we're going to take a look at the standings real soon.
It, of course, has been a very long schedule so far throughout the course of this year. We started things off over in Germany in the Eifel Forests. We swung over to the Italian countryside, to the beaches of Daytona, the streets of the Motor City, the coasts of Japan, and, of course, the Temple of Speed, right back down to Elkhart Lake, and we get set to close it all out down under here in New South Wales, Australia, here on Bathurst, Mount Panorama. It's going to be one exciting race for us here coming on up tonight. We'll take a look at your official standings entering tonight's race, and this is for Division number 1, where Delta Sport has pulled clear by over 100 points over Team Heusinkveld. It is all but secured for the Delta Sport crew, as you can only get about 100 points tops here entering tonight's race. So Delta Sport, they just need to take it easy tonight, and they're going to be in for one easy ride over towards the end of tonight's 2-hour event.
Yeah, even if they wanted to go DNF or DNS this race, they probably would have won the championship by a nearly 60-point deficit or 60-point gap. It's going to be a little bit less than that. It's going to be right around 97 points or something like it. But regardless, domination they had the entirety of the season. Anything barred outside for them, outside of the top 5 for them, I think was disaster. They won Imola, Daytona, Belle Isle, Suzuka, Road America, and only got like top 5 spots into Nürburgring and Monza, showing consistency is key, but also wins for them have been part of the team program of sorts, which is insane to think about.
Division 2, it's second verse, same as the first, with German Sim Racing, as you mentioned before, pulling well and truly clear of Deutsche Payment Esports, 580 to 428 points. That is a good 152-point deficit that the Deutsche Payment Esports crew will have to make up, but one that is going to be all but insurmountable here in this final race tonight. And even in the fight for second and third, while yes, it is still on, it is still one heck of a run for the Prestanda Nomad 256 to try to close on up to the Deutsche Payment Esports crew up in that second position in the points. I think that one of the biggest battles of the moment would be for the final spot inside the top 5 here in your second division, with Echelon Simsport and Orbit Motorsport tied for that last spot in the top 5 entering tonight's season finale.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring also Valorous over here because they have to be a factor after the Monza race. They got a top 3 in Monza. I think they were P2 last time by in the Italian track, and I think by the fact they actually had really good points over there in Orbit, and Echelon dropped hard points. Sorry, not in Monza, but also Road America. They dropped some hard points in there, brought Valorous into this fray of, fighting for the top 6, and could be a factor going into this race, and for possibly for happiness of our producer Dane Baird, maybe avoid the pre-quality shenanigans when the season is done and dusted.
And then, of course, we get down to division number 3, and this is where it really gets interesting for the point standings. Prestanda Nomad, clear by a decent margin, just shy of being 40 points clear, but Precision Racing Esports is still right there with 475 and ready to pounce in the season finale here from Australia, and World of Sim Racing as well, still at the party as well. They are 10 points back, looking to chart after a second spot, but they're going to be more on defense tonight with Rusty Spatulas, only 1 point out in fourth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was doing some quick mathematics over here. The point gap between Percent and Nomad and Precision is 37 points. So basically for Precision there is only one focus here. And let's be honest, it's win, win, win. There's nothing more else than that. And hope that World of Stream Racing doesn't do anything regarding their racing. And Percent and Nomad has the biggest blunder of a race this season so far. But for them, they would need a result like Suzuka, either no points or basically no points at all. Like, you have to be outside of the top 5 for them to be maybe continue for a championship spot.
Well, around Bathurst, the potentials for there to be mistakes are certainly high, and qualifying position is going to be absolutely everything here as we move down trackside to begin to tune into your qualifying coverage on RaceSpotTV for the season finale of the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld, as we're taking a look at the 127 German Simracing.de by ACV 127 BMW M4 GT3, hightailing it down the long back straightaway and in towards the chase as we'll fire our way down Conrad. Right behind him, Sean Campbell, the Delta Sport 170, looking to see if that 170 car can get another pole position. It was second quick in practice of a 201.667 to Maniti Racing's 201.300. And I think at the moment, Sean Campbell is getting a bit held up.
But I think more importantly, we have to talk about there is a Ford GT in this field behind Sean Campbell. And I think Sean is going to appreciate the fact there is a Ford GT in this field, Nolan. But yeah, coming back, jokes apart, as I know that is Ethan Bass's car. I think Ethan is the only human being that is probably insane enough to think of going with this car on this track specifically. But I think Sean wants to wrap up this in a good note of the season. Had solid results throughout, has been dominating so far in this championship with that Porsche. But one thing is tackling Porsche is that a Porsche around more flat tracks with not too much elevation changes. Of course, Elkhart Lake might be one of the tracks that has this massive elevation change, but now he faces a total different beast. He's in the mountain, and not many people can claim the mountain to be their own.
Well, say what you will, of course, about the old Ford GT3. That car is on provisional pole as it stands with a 201.951. The only car so far to break into the 201-minute bracket. Of course, there were a lot of cars that did punch their way into the high 201s, but notably, if that was a time put down in practice, that'd still be good enough for a top 10 spot. So this Ford GT3, with a lot of the BOV regulations that have been brought in over the last season or so, it has the potential to be a pretty quick car. It's not at all the snail that it used to be, way back in the day where we saw this car fall back to the wayside and fall back to the likes of the Fanatec GT Challenge, where it was relegated to a spot in the GT2 class. I think it's proven that it is capable of having some good runs in the GT3 class if the BOP regulations can go its way, which so far Orbit Motorsport Venus has been doing nicely. They're going to be bumped down a second, though, as it is Team Heusinkveld's 148 to put down a 201.822 for provisional pole.
Yeah, I don't think also his second lap is going to be the best one out of the gates just yet, as we're going to be seeing Ethan coming into the pit lane and probably going to do a quick service, change the tires, coming back into the track, a slow out lap, and then maximize the efficiency. That is basically the meta for these cars. One fast lap, come back into the pit lanes, and then and do their service and do more fast laps after a slow out lap. But yeah, I'm surprised with Ethan Bass's performance in this car so far. I expected him to be right around there, maybe for Division 2, but I didn't expect him to be so far up in the standings with less than 15 minutes to go. Inside the top 3, I'm happy. There's cries of joy for me on the inside, and I know some people might be saying that is not a car That is a Chosity or something like that. I've just made up a word of attempt of a car into the track.
Jansenkowski going to abort his second lap, make the run to pit road after getting a bit held up by Ryan Harding in the 237 Valorous Motorsports Areas BMW M4. Meanwhile, the Deutsche Payments Esports 287 talked about them needing a good run tonight if they want to see if they can't hang on to their second spot in the Division 2 point stand. Is going to fire out onto the stretch out of Hell's Corner and down the mountain straight in the run up towards Quarry Bend. Now, if you want to kind of keep track on who's where, Division 1 are marked by the triple numbers that start with a 1, Division 2 by the numbers that start with a 2, Division 3 marked by the numbers with a 3. If you want a bit more of a visual marker, though, without having to read numbers, Division 1, you see marked by the bluish-purple outline. You got Division 2 marked by the whiter outline. Division 3 marked by a bit of an invert of Division 2's number, where it's a more bright inside of the number and a dark outline instead of a dark inside and a brighter outline. So that's kind of where I could judge things on your timing towers there. Is this 287 taking every possible inch of racetrack, but misses out on a chance to kind of steal some of that curbing from the inside of, I believe that was up to McPhillippi Park in the run down to Skyline, and that can cost you big time on corner exit.
Yeah, and you're committed by the Cardinalson, but yeah, it's just so tricky for you to get that lap right. Once you get out of Mountain Corner and you go into Quarry's Bend and you start your mountain ascent, that's where you need to hit the marks every single time. And McPhillippi is whenever you're setting up yourself to go for the Skyline descent. It's so tricky because if you nail just the tad bit into the wall, you invalidate your lap. You're gonna have to reset yourself all over again, and getting the same groove in a track like this is extremely hard, if not near damn impossible for you to get the perfect lap once again, because it's so hard to find yourself into the groove. As Marius now does a 2:19.23, fifth to third is going to be the Deutsche Payment Porsche for the time being, with 10 minutes nearly 10 minutes to go into this qualifying.
Great opening efforts from that 287 car, putting himself on provisional pole for that second division. We'll look up to the likes of Sean Campbell taking everything that he can out of Quarry Bend, firing up and into the cutting and getting himself set up for Griffin's Mount and Reed Park, as that 170 Delta Sport Porsche 911 GT3R, again, having to take everything out of this racetrack, leaving less than a sheet of paper between himself and these barriers. As he'll cross over Solomons Park at the very top of the circuit before getting himself set for the downhill section, kicking the back end out through McPhillippi and down through Skyline. It's on the brace from here just about all the way down in towards Forest's Elbow, and this is where it gets really tight, is in this section down through the dipper and that run to that critical corner onto the Conrad Straight. I think this is the section that we're really going to have to watch out for on this opening lap. This and the cutting, those are the two most treacherous places on this racetrack with how easy it is for the track to become completely clogged.
Yeah, if there's even the slightest crash, it becomes a full lockdown, basically. It's traffic is like rush hour traffic jams, and it's nearly, if not impossible, for you to get out of a traffic jam that usually firms up into the descent of the mountain. And they need to, like you said, be mindful of what they're going to do, as now Sean is going to wrap up his lap. I don't think that might be enough to put him in the lead, but that's going to be really close, if not into, actually. Correction. There goes Sean Campbell into the lead. I didn't expect it was going to be this far from Manidi. I expected it to him to be somewhat slightly slower, I would say by just a few hundreds of a tenth of a second on Manidi Racing.
And the growl of the Mercedes-AMG GT3 firing up and over the hill. It's such a tight section of racetrack, which is, I think, definitely important to note, because the width of the track itself doesn't actually change all that much around the race course. It's relatively uniform all throughout. The only reason why some sections of this track feel so much tighter than others is because of how close the walls are. You know, down the Conrad Straight, it's about as wide as it is in the run up through McPhillamy Park. And in fact, I think it might actually even be tighter in some segments on the Conrad Straight. But you have so much more runoff on either side that it feels a lot more open than it is. It's these walls at waist height that really hem you in time and time again around Mount Panorama, and it's something that you obviously as a driver have to be psychologically aware of and be able to kind of weather that storm and almost treat these walls like they aren't theirs. You can kind of feel free to take a little bit more of a daring line through some of these corners, but of course you can't ever get there entirely, because once you do, if you do that, well, then you start to disrespect those walls, and take it from somebody that has tried many a time to master Bathurst. You can go to war against these walls all you want. They will win every single time. I think at this point, they've got at least 1,000-to-1 kill streak against these GT3 cars.
Hold up. What is a kill streak right now?
That'd be a destroyed race car of a GT3.
All right, fair point. As I think we just saw a destroyed car maybe going into the chase right now.
Speaking of which.
Yeah, I think perfect timing between the car. I don't know. Ethan might not top his time right over the board, but it's going to be close. 202 flat. Okay, never mind. iRacing tells us it's a 2, nearly a 2, 0.001, just to mock it on our faces. But regardless, it's still a very fast lap, nevertheless, for Ethan Bass. But he's going to have to reset it, and I think he's going to get more and more shot into making or breaking closer towards the top 5 or even to the top 3. Is going to be the 219 car. As now all eyes into Simon Attrell with a 345 going around the corners, and that Mercedes looks nimble through the chase.
Simon Attrell easing off the throttle in his Cube Echelon machine, trying to get himself set up for this final corner. Onto the brakes, out through Murray's corner, and onto the pit straight, which one of the shorter straights on the racetrack. We're used to the start-finish straight being among the longest. Not so at Bathurst. It makes it for almost an underwhelming end to a lap, but that last corner still just as critical as the one that follows it. As Hell Corner, again, a corner that's very, very easy for drivers to misjudge, and oftentimes you'll be seeing drivers swing a bit too wide, take too much curb on the exit, and fire themselves off and into the barriers. Simon Attrell begins his ascent up through Quarry Bend. He'll track out, but not use all the curbing that he's able to. Like you can see, the BMW is doing so behind. That's going to cost him these precious hundredths of a second up through this uphill portion.
Yeah, and I think for you to be setting yourself up perfectly into the first 2 corners, you have to carry as much speed as you can possibly do it going into the beginning of the ascent of the mountain. You know, right after turn number 4 is where you need to be, I would say, reach about a 160 to brake and turn that into 140, and then downgrading that to 90 second gear, and then start the ascent, and then maybe you can shred a few tenths of a second. But I think the most important is this downhill. The downhill, I think it is because you have so many compressions, people don't understand the value of being fast and turn this car as fast and effectively as possible. You can earn up to a full second just by taking the line straight and maintaining speed, chasing the speed and time into Forest Elbow. If not, that 1 second can evaporate just in a blink of an eye with the wrong turn into any of the corners that downlead the downhill section.
Attrell going to abort his lap and make his way down into the pit road. We have less than 5 minutes remaining here in qualifying, as the 289 going to go up and put himself 11th quick on the boards. That was the TR Geeks Energy Sim Racing machine, driven by Flores Harzevord at the moment, working his way down the main mountain straight now, as Attrell going to go down and into pit road, and Looks like they might be qualifying a day then here on this one. Only 3 minutes left, so hard to say you blame them. You don't have time for one more lap, and I think a lot of teams are putting down those final laps now. It's one of those cases where you only really get that one good chance at a lap, especially in a field this thick when it's group qualifying. It's so easy to get held up by traffic.
Yeah, it's really tricky, and over here, some people say traffic is not the blessing. It's a curse, because especially through the mountain, because one messed up corner, it's enough for you to mess up your whole run, and let's just say lose not just 1/10 of a second, but several tenths of a second navigating yourself through the corners specifically, and this just proves the difficulty of Mount Panorama in comparison to all other tracks of the season. I think this is why this is a complete different beast than, let's just say, tackling Daytona or Monza or Nürburgring, where traffic does play its factor. I think, let's just say, this might be the second hardest track in terms of traffic this season, just losing maybe to Belle Isle, in my opinion.
I'd even argue that this track is more difficult than Belle Isle because, while yes, Detroit Belle Isle is a street circuit, it's a street circuit where even in the more difficult fountain sections of the racetrack, at least you can kind of be able to safely pull off line and slow to be able to let drivers through. You can't really do that here at Bathurst in that top portion of the racetrack at the top of the mountain because of how tight it all is up there. And every corner feeds into the next. And it's not a case of, oh, you have a bunch of left-handers in a row. Everything is so one-lined, and it's so difficult to stay off a racing line that causes the ebbs and flow across the entire racetrack. Slowing up at any point at the top of the mountain here to try to let traffic by, you're effectively brake-checking drivers at the front of the field as well, as Gonzalez going to go 8th quick.
Yeah, but then again, I think I understand your point. Just a quick counterpoint. The problem is that Detroit, in my opinion, is like you said, it's a street circuit, and the fact that it's a street circuit, there is not too many points where you can say pull out the car a little bit. I think, in my opinion, the only places you can kind of like safely put the car aside in the road, it might be the backstretch. Pass right after, I'm just doing my mathematics, I think that is turn number 7 that leads into the back straight, and it's not the longest of back straights that lead, and then maybe the final 2 to 3 and 2 corners of the racetrack, and the first main straight, where if that basically makes this more doable. Over here you have the chase, you have the right after the chase, you have Mountain Straight, as Ethan is going to blink towards Sean Campbell as he's about to finish up his lap. I don't think Ethan is going to have enough time to wrap up his lap here, Nolan. But with that being said, it's those where you can basically safely pull the car aside and be done with as the time runs out. And Ethan, I don't know if he's going to be able to get that lap in, is on the directors as he's going to go across the line.
He does. He logs a 201.980, so gets the lap in, but it's just 0.03 of a second off from being able to improve on his positioning. Looking back to Ferrero in the Ingersoll Rand GT3 135 Mercedes. He'll come across the start-finish line this time by. Last time, a 204, logs a 203.076. That's good enough to put him up to, I believe that's going to be 29th on the boards. Jeremy Gonzalez from Precision Racing Esports, the next driver to come around in the 111, sits number 8 as it stands with a 202.079. It's not going to be an improvement, a 295 in the 2 minute and 2 second bracket. Next driver down the road, the iLiveries BMW, Patrick Schaefer in the 241, currently on a flyer. Has to beat an 084 if he wants to improve on his positioning here. He'll cross start finish and will not log the time. It was a time invalidated on his final lap. That leaves Luke Burtonshaw of Vector Sim Racing, the 227 Porsche, currently in the mid-pack at 202.442. He'll cross start finish 458. Again, not an improvement. A lot of drivers not able to put down any sort of lap improvements here in the dying minutes of qualifying.
Yeah, it's basically go tap for everybody else. As you can see, Percent and Nomad trying to ride the back wing of the 345 car, and I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to ride a the Echelon Sim Sport, and then we got a really good time on the board. But that 268 rather, that is also, from what I can see, is also the second division Echelon car, giving Toto Prestanda. I don't know if it's going to be putting him at the top of the board for the Division 3 as they go across the flag. And I think that is basically done and dusted for every single one of them. And maybe Prestanda Nomad, with a bit of a glimmer of hope, is at the top of the board, but doesn't look like it.
Neither driver able to improve, and I believe that's going to be it then for qualifying. The last remaining cars on the racetrack are already having aborted their laps, and they're going to make their way to pit road, just practicing their pit entry. It is such a difficult pit road to get onto here, and we'll be able to get into the intricacies of what a difficult pit road Bathurst has for itself once we get down to that phase at about 1 hour and 5 minutes to 45 minutes to go in your hour, 2 hours, technically hour and 55-minute race here tonight, with just a few seconds left and in qualifying. But there's a brief warm-up session before we fully get things underway. So we won't go to the starting grid just yet. We will wait, of course, until we get down to race time for that one. But I think now we can kind of talk about more of the technical aspects of Bathurst, right? I mean, it's such a difficult racetrack, and there's a huge debate as to which segment is the most difficult, right? Some say it's the section from the cutting up to Reed Park, where every single corner is off camber. You're braking on a curved braking zone. Some believe it's Solomon Park and McPhillamy Park, where you're flying your way through giant left-hand sweepers up and over blind rises where the back end can unsettle as you get light. Some believe it's from Skyline down to Forest Elbow, where you're on the brace through a downhill section where the track switches left to right and the walls flash out to try to catch the front bumpers at every single corner. And there are even the odd people that say it happens to be from Murray's Corner to Hell Corner on two deceptively tight right angle corners.
Yeah, I'm more with the opinion that the hardest part of the track for me has to be going from Skyline through the Dipper and Forest and all the way down through the to Forest Elbow, because that's where the maximum time gain will be done by the race drivers. That's where we can easily say we separate the boys from men. You know, that's who's gonna commit, who's gonna stay committed through the entry from the entry to the exit out of the corners to see who's gonna come out on top. And it's not for the faintest of heart to do those corners specifically. You're going through angles that they're so minimal, and just the slightest scrape of a wall I've seen not just happen with me but several other drivers, real life and virtual. That is enough for suspension damage or cause any considerable damage to the car that is gonna put up a damper on any hopes of having a really good run into this 6.21 kilometer track.
I think it also kind of shows who's actually insane enough to try to go for an overtake into that section of racetrack as well, because that's, I think, what separates that segment from a lot of other places. While, yes, it is incredibly risky, you can go side by side to the cutting. You can go side by side through Solomon Park, through McPhillamy. You can't really go side by side through the Dipper. And if you try that, well, you're going to find out real quick why you don't see that happen more often, even in the sim, as it's such a risky move to do. Personally, I'm one to think that the run between Reed Park and McPhillamy Park tends to be one of the more difficult sections for me, but that's more because whenever I'm hot lapping, that's about as far as I get. I seldom get the chance to even make it around through the S's and into the Dipper, and I have a massive amount of respect for anybody that's able to negotiate a track like this. Bathurst is, I think, a great epitome for the adage, the very old adage of it's easy to learn, nigh impossible to master.
You're saying that Bathurst is easy to learn.
Okay, fair enough. I will retract. It's easier than the Nordschleife, purely because it isn't as long. Let's say that.
All right, no. Actually, you might be shocked. Would you believe if I say that Nordschleife is easier to learn than Bathurst?
You think?
I think so.
I could never. I still don't have the Nordschleife down. I have up to about Sector 2 in the carousel I memorized. Sector 3 though is just lost on me. I have no idea what I'm doing in there.
It's like North. This is the fun part for me. Bathurst, for you to learn. Surely it's not of course it's not hard for you to learn where the track grooves might be. Surely it's easy, but as a racetrack of sorts, the Nordschleife for me is easier to approach because there's a specific groove through the Nordschleife, right? There's only a few handful of corners, for example, at an hour, where you might have a certain angle on how to approach. For example, let's just say you go through compression up the hill, left hand kink, and you go throughout an hour, right? Once you go past the right hand side, the left hand corner can go a few ways. You can take it close, you can take it far, you can do a wide entry or close entry. It doesn't even matter. It does matter depending on how you go into top level racing, but it's not easy. It's one of the corners that is kind of hard for you to master, but you understand it. And the Nordschleife displays like that. You understand its groove, and you adapt towards mastering it. It's hard for it to master because it's the only track that has 192 corners. Name me another track in the world that has 192 corners, Nolan. I'll be waiting.
Le Mans, if you turn the Mulsanne straight into a giant go-kart track with chicanes every 500 meters.
Fair. I was gonna say either that or Targa Florio, but I don't think even. But Targa Florio, I think, had about, for its length, it was 1,000. Man, they raced that. Now I'm very curious. I think Targa Florio had about 200 corners or something like it, which is insane to think about. And the kilometer, and it was a 148 kilometer track. So the one thing is doing that for 28 kilometers, 25 to 28 kilometers, and one other thing is doing for 6 kilometers. As Ingersoll Rand has a little bit of a drive into the wall. Another thing is doing that for 128 and 48 corners.
Darian Roy Racing has mentioned in regards to our discussion as to which is more difficult to learn, the Nordschleife, the Nürburgring, or Bathurst. It's the same as the Nürburgring, but shorter. I can agree with that sentiment. I think the difficulty in trying to learn and master each of these is about the same. I think Bathurst, though, gets the win on intensity, just because, again, of the prestige this track has. Not to say that the Nürburgring does not have prestige. It absolutely does, and rightfully so, as being one of the most fearsome tracks in all the world, but the atmosphere on Bathurst is just so different, and we'll be able to get to all that and more in a bit as warm-up has come to a close. We'll get to your starting grid here for the season finale of the IVRA GT Sprint Series, powered by Heusinkveld. It is Maniti Racing and Alex Bennett on pole position for division number 1 with a 201-234. Sean Campbell for Delta Sport lined up beside them on that front row. Team Heusinkveld is going to be down on row number 2 alongside Deutsche Payment Monkey Butt for that 287 to kick it off for division number 2. Prestanda Nomad and German Sim Racing going to be back on row number 3. Row 4 holds the likes of Orbit Motorsports Venus with Jeremy Gonsalves, for Precision Racing Esports beside him, Patrick Shaver for iLiveries, and Ryan Scott Hamilton for Prestanda Nomad. Going to be rounding out the top 10. Row 6 holds Massimo Locatello for German Sim Racing with Flores Harsvord down on row number 6. Continuing on down through the field, you've got Sabelt Esports at Team Heusinkveld on row number 7. Then it's Vector Sim Racing and Eclipse Racing Esports on row number 8. Row 9 holds Adam State and Emil Wimbo. And rounding out the top 20 here, going to be Echelon Sim Sport and Ingersoll Rand at GT3 Sprint 1. Prestanda Nomad's 208 machine going to be back in 21st spot with Kazar Sim Racing in 22nd. V Racers and World of Sim Racing going to be on row number 12. Moving through the rest of the field, and you've got Rusty Spatulas, Echelon Sim Sport, Precision Racing Esports 113, Olympus Esports Proton, Ingersoll Ranch GT3 Sprint 2, P1 Esport Orange, German Sim Racing Red, Valorous Motorsports Aris, Olympus Esports Lambda, GSE Racing by ACI to round out a 34-car field as they have lined it up on the grid for tonight's standing start. As I have been corrected, it is a fake pace lap, and I don't often see that, as they did a bit of a fake out on me. So we do have a bit of time to kill then here, as we'll be going for our one and only pace lap here around Bathurst, as soon as this field gets themselves underway here then, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and it's not going to be, I think, the longest of runs here at Bathurst. If I remember correctly, they line up their cars. Actually, correction. Now I'm confused. They do a lot. Yeah, I remember they align at the start here. So it's going to be the fake pace lap. It's going to be long for them. That might, try to maximize fuel efficiency. I'm really waiting to see how the start of the race plays out. We know that is probably the most nerve-wracking lap one of the season so far by a long shot. I don't even think that Detroit, for all its purposes around being a street circuit and all, has the difficulty of lap number over here, because Detroit is a little bit wider in some areas than the Mount Panorama track is. So there's going to be interest whenever they come down that part of the mountain, coming down Forest Elbow, who's going to be elbowing the other ways, pun partially intended, through the chase, and then who's going to be brave to brake late and make the overtake, going down the Cone Rod straight, and then make the overtake on the chase.
There's a big field separation at the moment in this long pacing line, as Medici Racing on pole position at the moment, making their way up and over Solomon Park and down from McPhillamy. Meanwhile, GSE Racing hasn't even entered Quarry Bend at this point, so that's a good third of the circuit now to spread out around, and of course they'll have to form back up quickly if they want to not lose out on the big chunk of time coming, of course, to the end of our little mock pace lap here, as we'll fire down through Skyline and into the Esses on a bit of a slower run. And if this is where it's going to get interesting, right, to see who's going to be coming out on top of this one, as their field's going to get set to form up on the Conrad Straight. Lorenzo, do we think we're going to be getting anything big swinging around to the points championships here, particularly, of course, in Division number 3?
I don't think so. I think it's going to stay busy. I think it's going to be close, depending on how percent the Nomad does on circumstances, and but Precision needs to have a strong race over here.
You're absolutely right on that one, as Medici Racing will lead us down the Conrad Straight into the chase. Starts to hop on the brakes as your field starts to double on up as we get set to enter the final 3 corners out of the Conrad Straight. The rest of the field, the very tail end, just exiting Forest Elbow and firing down the Conrad Straight in a mad scramble to try to catch up at the tail end of the pacing line. Well, it'll be Alex Bennett and Sean Campbell, the 2 inside and outside lane pole sitters. They will enter Murray's Corner. We're happy that you join us here on RaceSpotTV on this Saturday morning or afternoon, depending on where you're at. Early morning, if you're me. We're out of the final corner. One final time. The IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld. Alex Bennett takes us to the green flag just after the start-finish line. Down to turn number 1, the 101. Pulling clear with Sean Campbell hot on his heels as we rocket down the mountain straight in the run up towards the Quarry Bend. Single file all the way back to about 7th and 8th, where it starts to get a bit more dicey in the background. Senkowski to go to good defensive at the 148. You saw Campbell moving around, seeing if he can maybe make a move down to the turn 2. No dice, though. It is Alex Bennett to lead the way early here in Bathurst.
Yeah, but you can even see Sean, just heating up his wheels a little bit. Not too much of a movement in the middle of the pack. I think the only big mover might have been, from what it looks like to be, but dropping in one spot. But other than that, everybody just keeping it clean. And now the danger starts. They're going around just past the cutting, going to Quarry, and now the part of the mountain that everybody fears, the slightest of mistakes, traffic jam ensues.
Very, very clean start to this race so far. As so far, we've had by far one of the cleanest starts in any GT3 field that I've ever seen on the iRacing service here at Mount Panorama. But that is the beauty of IVRA. They've got some of the best races in the business, and they obviously put on a phenomenal show day in, day out. And they're going to continue to put on that phenomenal show in this season finale of the GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld, as Sean Campbell tries to keep close with Alex Bennett. Look for the fight for third, though, between Deutsch Payman in the 287, trying to close up between Heusinkveld's 148. Jan Senkowski trying to keep Holy Tykes at bay. 287 not going to be able to go for a move, though, down into the chase, as it looks like it'll be Alex Bennett to potentially lead our opening lap here at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, absolutely. No major moves there. I think everybody's also thinking about fuel as we see the first car coming into pit lane. That might be the precision racing car, but that is the Jeremy Gonsalves car that is basically was leading the halfway part of the group. Now you see a separation between all cars, and between the first group to the second group that is being led by Ethan Bass for the time being, as we probably have a few instances that we're probably going to take a look in a little bit on our screens.
The 248 of Team Heusinkveld has been given permission to tow after a wild wreck at the end of the Conrad Straight. We'll see if we can't get a look at that in just a few moments. Once things settle down up in front here, obviously, it is so far an incredibly intense race, though, up in front. The whole field, for the most part, I should say, still nose to tail as Alex Bennett from Benizzi Racing continues to lead the way. Sean Campbell tucked right behind him. And looking at the 287 at the moment, firing up and over the rise in the run for fourth. It's the Deutsch Payment 287 Porsche 911 GT3R rockets down the hill over McPhillippi Park and in towards Skyline, as it's so far been a fight for the top two. That fourth place driver starting to fall back into no man's land. He's got to be careful it doesn't fall back too far. German Sim Racing looks like they want to try to start working their way back up further in the top five. Back on the Conrad Straight. Holy Tykes continuing to work his way closer and closer towards Jan Senkowski. In the 148 911 GT3R, Sean Campbell for Delta Sports still working his way up in that second spot. Again, taking a look deeper in the field. This is going to be with Luke Burtonshaw for Vector Sim Racing's 227, tucked up behind Jake Shuri's Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs. And the 217 on a good fight at the moment for that 14th position here. Make that now 13th. Is right at the front of this train. Looks like they're being a bit held up by the likes of Ryan Sky Hamilton from a standing nomad to the 356.
Yeah, and now is that thing of, just trying to find yourselves into the track, I don't think there's going to be a high level of aggressiveness. The thing right now is maintaining the tow, and I think this kind of goes back to what we were seeing at Monza and also Daytona, that tow over here is important, and they need to be thinking about fuel for possible overcut on a track like this. Overcut over here could work wonders if you have a really good clean track whenever your competitors pit before you, because those who pitted before you can find themselves into traffic, and their undercut strategy might not have worked as they probably wanted to at the end of things. So fuel over here, I think, is going to be the talking point of the town whenever that pit stop window comes up in about, well, would say 40 minutes into this race.
We're looking at Massimo Locatello for German Sim Racing to the 127 BMW M4. Trying to close up still to Hamilton. And the Prestanda Nomad 356. They're running right behind Ethan Boss and the Orbit Motorsports Venus Ford GT3, the lone Ford in this field. Still running the very strong 7th place. And closing up to the back end of Jason Dilworth in the other Standard Nomad machine to the 256, the Division 2 entry. Hamilton, though, reeling in the 4 down the straightaway. Is that's where I think Boss starts to struggle on the main Conrad straight there. He'll work his way down through the chase. And I think a bit of a bad line for Hamilton will help him out here, as now Hamilton's forced to go defensive against Locatello right behind him.
Yeah, and as it's finding that key point, but what a drive so far from that Persona Nomad car, isn't it, Nolan? You know, the 356 into the top 10, the only car that is actually from Division 3 into the top 10, let alone into the top 20 nearly, as the other car into the top 20 is your direct competition in the Precision Racing car, the 311 car, that is finding themselves just into the top 20, into P20 for the time being. But so far, that 356 sealing the deal perfectly with a race win in the championship in Division 3.
Taking a look a bit deeper again, way back down in the field. This is, I believe, Nick McLaughlin. It is in the 311, trying to keep Rusty Spatulas of Jin Ziliakis, the 313, just at bay. Precision Racing Esports machine doing a great job thus far of maintaining the position on this racetrack in the top 20. Of course, I don't think as far up as they might have hoped. They're running good 12.8 some seconds behind the race leaders, but considering they're running, of course, a Division 3 machinery, they're not doing all that bad. They're running right around kind of just into the second half of the midfield, and hey, they're able to keep the car clean when they're not in a big host of traffic, and sometimes that's all you need. As I'm willing to bet that these fights here, they might be split up once these drivers start to make some more mistakes deeper on in the run.
Oh yeah, I would expect maybe towards the second half part of their stint is where we might see the driver mistakes becoming more common, where the physical effect's going to start taking its toll a little bit around the track like this, because you know you're taking so much punishment into the steering wheels, especially if you're driving like a direct drive steering wheel, like a good portion I think of these drivers do. You know, those 12 to 30 Newton meters wheels that give so much feedback into the car. Your wrist eventually, if you're not used with the pumping forces or the damping forces this track throws at you, you might be prone to make a more race-ending mistake than some other drivers driving, like for example a G29 like moi. But let me just say one thing. No, I'm not saying the G29 is better than a direct drive.
All right, fair enough on that one. I'm not one that's really tech savvy when it comes to wheels. When it came to me getting the G920, I was just concerned about getting something that was functional with Windows 11. I loved my G27, so you can imagine how sad I was when I tried to load it up on Windows 11. Found out, no dice. They don't support the driver software on that one.
Well, I can tell you from the get-go, you made a mistake. You went to Windows 11.
I didn't have a choice in the matter. It was an upgraded computer or nothing, okay?
Oh, God. I feel for you.
Yeah, trust me, I do too. Still trying to figure out what that giant empty bar on my taskbar on the far left is and why I can't get rid of it. Racing
oh, my God.
Continuing to lead the way from Delta Sport here, running 1-2. Team Heusinkveld rounds out the top 3 for division number 1. Deutsche Payment Esports is currently the first driver in division 2. For Standard Nomad in the 356, still first driver in division number 3, as Sean Campbell, will he make the move here into Murray's corner? Makes the look. Thought for a moment he would dive for it. It's a bit of an unorthodox place to go for a move, but he's going to decide to back out and tuck back in line for that final corner.
Yeah, absolutely. As nearly found its opening to try to make that overtake work, but got shut down right off the bat. And one of the things that, like I said before, I think you cannot focus too much is battling for position, because the slightest battle can you lose up to maybe 2-3 tenths of a second. You can see already a separation from like groups of 5 to 4 cars, and catching back that group depending on how big the draft train is, it's so hard that you're gonna have to put put up more stress into the car for you to try to catch back that group that, for example, that Sabella is being the back car right now, as not the Sabella, but that looks like to be, yeah, that is the Sabella, but that Geeks Energy is trying to lead now. That will be the third or fourth group of cars right now. So it just proves how difficult a track like this is in terms of maintaining composure, maintaining the considerable gap, as we're going to see what happened now to Team Heusinkveld, that we had a crash early on, like you mentioned, into this race.
He's on lap number 1. Takes too much curb at a wild moment. You get into the grass, and at that point, Lorenzo, you're just a passenger. You can lock the brakes on all you want, but there's nothing you can do to avoid finding the tires at the far end. But that is quite literally the fastest possible point on the circuit, and you can tell the second those wheels left the ground, it was already game over.
Oh yeah, 100%. You go 270 kilometers per hour down the down Conrad into the chase kink, and the car, and there's no amount of grip in the world, no amount of downforce or amount of dampers that could hold that car in place whenever it came back into the track. And unfortunately for Team Heusinkveld, just finishing on the low note early on in this race.
Making a move down in the Murray's corner. As Adam State thought the satellite race BMW might try to make a move on Vector Sim Racing. This is Luke Burtonshaw again, though, forced to back out as he was not able to get the move. And look at how much time he's lost as a result of that failed venture.
Yeah, not the biggest time loss wise. I think he lost about 2/10 of a second trying to commit himself into the corner, but still staying within that draft. What that does, though, it brings Spencer Rietzma into the fray. He was just outside of the draft range coming to the last corners, but now the 268 from Orbit is not Orbit. I actually butchered that. As Ashlon Sinsport now into the 5-car group that is starting from Geeks.
A bit further up the road, this is Massimo Locatello, German Sim Racing's 127 entry. Still hounding the back end of Ryan Scott Hamilton. Underneath the base, Orbit Motorsports and Cristanda Nomad. Still running 7th and 8th as we'll fire down the hill right behind them. Patrick Schaefer, iLiveries, the 241 Beamer, still trying to close up the back end as well. It's hasn't been a race where we've seen a lot of overtaking, but again, we've talked about this before. It's because this is just such a difficult track to overtake at. Your best bets are up into turn 2 and, of course, into the chase. But overall, I still think this has been a phenomenal race thus far, because while the overtaking has been up there, the incident count has been very, very low as well. And that's something that you love to see, because it's so hard to keep a low incident count at a track that's as demanding as this one.
And it's just extremely hard, in my opinion, you know, because, like, I think you're either 0 to hero over here on this track, so you have to be on rails every single lap. And I think this is, in my opinion, the track that demands the most attention out of the driver. Even Detroit, we were mentioning like this back and forth, demands a lot of the driver attention for being a street circuit, but you can relax a few points of the track. In here, every part of the track that you go, it demands attention from your eye and body coordination. So it is hard for you to maintain a proper pace in it.
The moment you lose concentration for even a moment, you've already lost, even if you find yourself not yet into the barriers, because those braking zones can just come up on you so quickly at a track like this. As Locatello right behind Ryan Scott Hamilton, and even if you're a driver that's chasing one in front of you, you again have to be on the money, because even if you might not be losing your focus, the driver in front of you does, Well, all of a sudden, you've got a game of Dodge the Flying multi-million-dollar supercar on your hands. And let me tell you what, it's a game that at Bathurst, you're usually not going to be on the winning end of if you're right up on somebody's gearbox like Locatello was on Hamilton. But hey, that's part of racing, and that's what adds to the intensity of any race you could ever have here on the mountain. It allows it to be one of the most thrilling racetracks we're overtaken as a premium.
Yeah, I think I just thought of this into my head. I don't know why. I could see like even Jago it takes into this mountain, you know, just coming up towards you, looking in the background, like the lingering voice of Ivan Drago just saying, "I must break you," with that heavy Russian accent that is mentioned by Dolph Lundgren. Say, "I must break you," and basically, if you make a mistake, it will literally break you into pieces.
Saw Locatello make a little peek to the inside of Hamilton into Hell Corner, opted against it. Up the mountain straight as we begin our uphill ascent once again on lap number 9. Locatello still looking to get himself with a solid run as he'll jump onto the brakes and fire his way through Quarry Bend. Again, takes as much curbing as you can on the outside of turn number 2 where the wall kind of breaks away. Double apexes the kink and down into the sweeper, leaving less than a foot of space between himself and a concrete wall, taking every possible scrap of real estate that he possibly can out of Bathurst as he tries to pressure Ryan Scott Hamilton into a mistake.
Yeah, and this is that thing that I think for a track like this, you were saying that if you are chasing someone, you have to be on point every single time. As Ethan Bassett's car just taking a little bit of a jump that could have possibly lose a little grip towards that Matt Tech Ford GT3, but fortunately for him, didn't happen. I think more importantly is the fact that if you are the chased car, I think in a track like this, out of all tracks, this is one of my opinions. You should not be worried with the guy behind you. You should be worried with the track itself, because the track might do its job for you, depending on circumstances as how you go through the corners. And Satellite making the move on Echelon from what it looks like. So the 268 Porsche just relegated up down one spot rather, and find themselves. Sorry. That is a Vector Sim Racing car relegated back one spot, but still within that fight for the top 15 spots.
Luke Burtonshaw trying to close up to Adam State. This fight for 14th, 13th, 13th, and 12th, headed up by Jake Shuri and Floris Harsford, right up the road. As thought for a moment we'd be getting to something, but turns out not quite just yet. But potentially a prediction from the future from producer Dave Bayer. We'll see. Hopefully that doesn't lead to a curse of this field and a potential incident coming on up as, again, this four-way scrap.
But Nolan, you know, we have Dane. Thank you, Dane, as he said just that in our ears. If anything happens, we can say blame Dane.
Very true, very true.
For the first time ever, I think, for both of us in a broadcast.
Will Dane become the first member of the newest member of the Blame Club?
Oh, he's already, he's the newest.
Is he already?
He's been long enough, man. You just have lost yourself into the vortex of time.
I think it's almost insulting that I have not been added into the Blame Club. I don't know if you've been tuning in to Real Sim Racing on Monday nights, but the amount of commentators' curses I've inflicted on that field in recent weeks is astronomical, and yet still I remain.
Are you trying to steal my spot? as
I believe so.
as the commentator curses King.
Look, for about the last week and a half, every time I mention anything good about a driver, something happens, to the point where I've even been mentioning somebody, they've been having a good run, haven't talked about them all race long. The second we go over to them, they fire it off into the wall in some of the strangest incidents you've ever seen, to the point where you have to think they're trying.
All right, so okay, so you're saying you're in cahoots with the grid to try to steal the spot out of the commentator emperor out of me. You're saying you're trying to do a organized coup on me to take my spot as the commentator curses King away from me. Okay, fair enough. I'm more than happy to give the title to someone else, because I've done this long enough to say that that I'm the commentator's curses King, even though Lewis McGlade and shots on him said that it doesn't exist. It does.
Take a look at a replay of an overtake. This is one we saw earlier. This was Luke Burtonshaw firing down into Forrest's elbow and onto the Conrad straight. Oh!
Ow!
Tags the wall, and that's what allowed the BMW to get through. And like you were mentioning, Lorenzo, it's those little mistakes, and I think Burtonshaw very lucky to get away with that one without that being a monumental accident.
More importantly, how he got away with that without having a meatball flag?
No kidding. Pass for fourth as well. German sim race into Deutsche Payment Esports. Just making moves, and Ryan Scott Hamilton has gotten by Ethan Boss as well. Boss has dropped two, as it was a huge lunge down into the chase with a 356 and kind of chopped the nose of the 219. And Locatello managed to work his way through as well. Here comes Patrick Schaefer trying to make a move as well. So passes everywhere you look, up and down throughout this field, and look at the squeeze to the right-hand side for the Ford as Orban Motorsports Veen is being bullied out of spot after spot. He's about to lose the top 10 here.
Oh, it's a matter of when that is going to happen for Ethan rather than if. You know, if there's one thing that this Ford is known, and I've dealt this painfully, trying myself run around like a Spa-Francorchamps track, is the tires. It's kind of like, have you ever seen the grip chart that would normally, I'm trying to remember who did the grip chart, like going on a lap by lap basis. You have like grip maybe going linear for some of the cars. It goes on exponentially for some other cars. For the Ford, immediately after like halfway through the stint or 7 laps in, it dips vertically, like into negative levels. The grip is non-existent in the Ford, so Ethan now is gonna find himself in a very big world of hurt to try to be consistent with his lap times and try to maintain with the BMWs, the Ford, the Porsches and Mercedes-Benz, because just how the car operates, it gives you grip towards the beginning, but towards the latter portions, if you're not cautious enough with the car, if you don't have a knowledge of the car well enough to understand that the grip suddenly disappears, you're gonna be in a world of hurt.
Nick McLaughlin's been running a very quiet race so far in the Precision Racing Esports 113 Mercedes AMG GT3, as has Jane Ziliakis right behind the Rusty Spatula's Porsche 911 GT3R. They've been running 20th and 21st ever since the drop of the green flag here, and now with an hour and a half just under remaining, just over about 1 hour and 26 minutes and 33 seconds of being technical about it. They are still running, again, a bit separate from the rest of the field. They haven't been terribly eager, I don't think, to close up to anybody in front. I think at the moment, these two drivers here, are in survival mode, right? They're not trying to get up and overtake these drivers. They're taking the approach of, if we can make it to the end of this race, that in itself is gonna be an achievement, as you saw a bit of a tank slapper there for the 311 on the exit of turn 2.
You're trying, right?
Huh?
You're trying to kill Nick, basically, right now.
I'm not trying. He might think I am, though, when he watches this back.
Fair. So McLaughlin is ready to go with his car, but looks like that rusty spatula. I think, is that the rusty spatula? Is that's Jan Zilia's car is just approaching like a madman on a mission on that Mercedes, and I think Nick is going to find himself into defending spots real soon as they go down Forest Elbow into Conrad Straight.
Bit further up the road, this is, I believe, for the race lead here, as Alex Bennett under fire with two different drivers, and Kowski into the grass on the right-hand side, entering the final corner. The team Heusinkveld 148 will get himself back in line, while Sean Campbell starts to charge after Bennett for the race lead. Thought for a moment we might see our first lead change as we roll down into Murray Corner. Campbell did have a look and an attempt at it down into the chase, but it ended up going to advantage of Bennett with the track switch back to the right. And then from there, before Campbell could set anything up, he was put under fire by the 148, who saw an opportunity, tried to go for it, and it ended up not paying out.
Yeah, I think that was the power of the office chairs that normally Sean Campbell puts around his rooms that prevented Jan Sidalski to make the move on Hell Corner and Murray's Corner, and basically defend the P2 out of the team Heusinkveld Porsche. But for now, really good battle for the lead as we go threefold. Fabio Umverdrus on the German Sim Racing coming closer and closer, but so far not being able to get anywhere around any contending spots towards the top three as they go down Forest Elbow, and that is the closest that I think Sean has been on Alex Bennett, as now that mid-engine boxer engine car is going to make a big roar down Conrad and possibly take an overtaking move going into the chase.
Thought about it last lap through and made an attempt for it. I think he's too far back, though, this time to be able to realistically do anything about it without an almighty lunge, and he's going to close to the gearbox of the Merc, but will not be able to go for the overtake. He'll again close with the draft and the short blast down to Murray's Corner. If he's going to have any sort of move here, he's going to have to make a good one out of turn number 1 and have this happen in the run down to Hell Corner, or sorry, Quarry Bend, into turn number 2, as Sean Campbell get that good drive. I think he's tracked a bit too wide there on the exit of turn number 1, as meanwhile, a bit deeper down in the field, Burton Shaw has been kind of swapping around a few positions, as well as a bit further behind them. This is Adam State. You saw the Satellite Racing Machine actually had an off down at the chase and has lost a small handful of positions. He now is in the clutches of Spencer Ratismo for Echelon Simsport, as well as for Standard Nomad's 208 machine of Chris Chatterton.
Yeah, that was a solid move from RaceSpotTV going into Murray's Corner over there, sealed the deal effectively. Now, as you mentioned, there is the Prestanda Nomad BMW that Chatterton is running, and the last lap for that satellite car that is driven by Adam State. Not the best of laps, even though that was quite effective, but nevertheless, Rietsma gets up on him, and we're gonna look at the replay on what happened to State. Just overcommitment is an understatement through the chase.
Good job on avoiding the drivers around him, though. He kind of had to thread the needle to split that one into the sand. Could very easily have just taken these guys out in front of him, and he's going to get to the back bumper of Ratisma there. Down, of Reitzma, excuse me, the run down the through Skyline, as I think Reitzma actually might have even clipped the wall over on the right-hand side. And in fact, he did. It was a small hip check to the wall as Reitzma taking an inch too many. But again, very, very lucky, just like we saw the Porsche do earlier on at Burtonshaw. Very lucky that that didn't end up worse, especially with a whole host of drivers right behind him.
Yeah, he's basically formed after that, I think he formed up what would be a 5-6 car group, because he's bringing not even 7 car group depending on circumstances, because the last car is a Rusty Spatula. So they were a bit far apart a few laps back, but now with that being said, with that move done and the mistakes happened, now it turns into 7 car scrap, even though Rusty Spatula is still far in the back to consider themselves able to make any moves on this 7-car field or 7-car train rather, and set themselves into a feisty battle for positions. And for Rusty Spatulas, in the meanwhile, the solid race over here basically seals the deal for them into the top 6 in the Division 3. And the voice pre-quality shenanigans, I think the one that is in danger in here might be Ashlon, but I don't see the 3, 4, 5 round anywhere in this grid. They're at P24 so far, nowhere close to this 7-car train.
This fight for the top 3 is still going nowhere either, as Alex Bennett, try as he may, has not been able to break away from Sean Campbell and the Delta Sport crew, just tucked in behind. We are getting closer and closer to the pit stop window opening up. The pit stop window will open in about 15, 14 minutes or so. And that'll run through until 45 minutes left to go in this race, during which point drivers must come in for a driver change, and they must be in the box for at least 60 seconds. And of course, that is strictly timed, and we have seen drivers be caught out, and yellow flag is out. We do have a safety car on the race course. I'm not sure where, though.
Yeah, I see Echelon into the pit lane. That could be
Reitzma. Reitzma wrecked it big time at Skyline is what I'm seeing here. And I'm sure Dame Baird will be on the case with that one as first and safety car of the day. Now, how will this potentially impact pit strategies is going to be big now, because this is coming up just shy when that pit stop window opens. This could kind of throw a wrench in the works for a lot of teams in their strategies.
This laughter is a little bit evil, because what if I tell you I think the pit lane is going to open on the third lap of their stint, of this yellow car stint, and in race control, I don't think race control is going to make the decision. I think the teams and drivers will have to make a decision. If we only go 4 laps in like normally in for the pace car, to make a decision if they should come in for a stop at the moment. And I think we got the replay set to go on what has happened to Reitzma around McPhillamy Park.
Spencer Reitzma here in the Echelon Motorsports machine. Take a look at this one. It's a huge shunt as too much on the inside. It fires across the racetrack, and how lucky is that, Lorenzo? Right in front of a whole host of traffic. Did you see that? Fired out between 2 of the cars that were flying up on him into the one possible gap there was there to avoid that. How that was not a roadblock is beyond me. That, if you're gonna wreck big there, that's about as good as that could have gone for the rest of the field.
Right now, I have a Ric Flair shot race right in front of me during the imitation work-off that he had with Jay Lethal. Wrestling stuff. But how? Physics? Nolan, what are you majoring in? Engineering, physics, communication?
I'm majoring in not having a secondary education in my spare time. I do this at my local track as well, and that's my day job.
So we're not concerned about the physics and engineering aspects of how did not the other cars hit him? Can I, if Dane could bring us up the perspective, I think that was the Pristina Nomad car that was the first on the scene. How did he survive that?
Ay. Tremendous impact into the wall. And, you could see how on that replay there as well, there was that small little divot over on the right-hand side, and usually you hit that divot pretty square with a car, right? He only hit it though with one side of the race car, and that's what really unsettled him.
It looks like the car bottomed out or something like that.
I think that, yeah, that's exactly it.
So it is interesting to me, you know, the car bottoming out like that on the transition. Normally, bottoming out could happen during transition, as we see the Pristina Nomad BMW. That I think that is the first car on the scene when the crash happened. They went hard into the skyline barrier on the inside on the right-hand kink. And probably got some suspension damage, so they had authorization from race control to come into the pit lane, and probably will take an end of line of penalty. As we have the replay up from Pristina Nomad on the scene from Chris Chatterton's point of view, as we're gonna see the crash. You can see satellite right in front. They go through and wow. And Ingersoll ran right after. Nothing much they could do that as a collateral spin when the Mercedes saw all kinds of hell breaking loose into this yellow flag, the first yellow flag into Mount Panorama. And more interestingly is the fact that we had a yellow flag of 4 minutes. If we do mathematics here, and never trust the commentators' math, ladies and gentlemen, we expect them to come out of 110, as now we see J. Carlos Moreno, Ingersoll runs. You can see the crash with Chatterton. Chatterton probably has some difficulties up at the front. He's going to see that he's going to get spooked by the Pristina Nomad. He immediately spins around, causes a massive pile, just find a rejoin, crashing into the tire barrier, reversing into the track. There's an AMG just passing through from what it looked like, then just coming back to the track safe and sound. Good for him that we didn't have a lot of issues. It's a yellow flag, and I need to catch my let me just catch a breath real quick, because oh lord, this was actually a big one. Done. Caught myself a breath, and like I was saying before, 4 minutes, this might be in terms of safety caution laps. This opens at 105, so if this goes 4 laps, basically, whenever we get the green flag is where the pit window starts. And not even that, lights are out already in the pace car, so we only have like 2 safety cautions over here. Into this first of, hopefully it is the only yellow flag portion of this race for the IVRA GT Sprint Series, and we're gonna get a very quick restart on the way, as Alex Bennett's gonna lead us off in about a minute and a half or so, as they are down to the Conrad Straight. And I believe we have one Nolan J. Rempel back with us.
When the
'Cause he
dog
also had to
wants to
catch it.
go, the dog wants to go. I don't make the rules on that one.
No. You gotta let the dog out, and without the barking, without the oof 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 oof, oof, you know, and the Baha Man song behind your ears. I'm inspired today.
Back just in time, I see as well as, again, safety car lights are out. Green flag, this time by pit stop window opens in 6 minutes. Pace car is going to pull down into pit road. Alex Bennett has led every lap thus far, and he will lead us back to green at Mount Panorama. Checks the field up off the final corner, and we're back underway from Bathurst. Oh, a big cover to the inside for the likes of Unverdruss in the German Sim Racing 166. As Holy Tykes tried to make a move. The 287 finds off now on defense. Here comes Jason Dilworth from Standing Nomads 256, trying to make that run for fifth. They almost banged doors down the mountain straight.
They do bang doors, that Deutsche Payment, and also from what it looks like to be the German Sim Racing car, Percent Nomad car as well. But Percent Nomad over here has to play for the big money over here because they know they have the win in Div 3 in their hands so far, so they cannot jeopardize this with what would be a silly move up into the mountain. But they stay one abreast going to turn number 2. And now everybody up the hill one more time, just past the cutting.
A great race that we're having here on this restart. And again, so far, clean throughout this field as Locatello. We look back to the 127 entry. Trying to fend off Patrick Schaefer. I think more focused on trying to overtake Ryan Scott Hamilton. First of 2 Prestanda Nomad Mercedes. This one for division number 3, playing rear gunner support to their division 2 entrant. Will they be moved down the Conrad Straight and in towards the chase underneath the Mitsubishi Fuso Bridge? Or signage, I should say. That's not a bridge. And down into the right-hand kink, onto the brakes. No move for Locatello. He'll tuck it in line behind Hamilton.
No, and I think he has to be patient, you know, wait for the perfect opportunity for him to make a move. Meanwhile, in the back, we have a spin between some of the cars. I think that involves, from what it looks to be, the Olympus car, and another one that I'm just trying to locate who lost a few spots behind.
Rusty Spatulas.
Oh, no. That is unfortunate to say.
That would be Jan Ziliakis in the 313 Rusty Spatulas Porsche 911 GT3R. That's a big shame. We were talking earlier about how they were just trying to survive this race, and it turns out the restarts will bite you as we look up to fights between Simon and Trill for Echelon Simsport and Lyubov Ozaretstovskaya, the Olympus Esports Proton Porsche, firing down the front the mountain straight up towards Corey Bend. It's so tight between them, too wide for a Trill. Has to lift out to avoid going into the wall. That allows Ferrero. Ingersoll ran through. V-Racers Marco Silva gets through as well. And now Christopher Stephenson in the Lambda BMW for Olympus Esports wants to try to make that 3 for 3.
Yeah, but Lyubov over there, from what it looked like, looked to be a little bit more aggressive than probably should have been into the corner, and a little bit of an oddie move from that Porsche. Nevertheless, still managed to get away unscathed. But as you were mentioning, we're going to look at the replay now, what happened between Jan Ziliakis and Lyubov Ozaretstovskaya going down to the chase. But that involves Ingersoll Rand T-boning the Rusty Specialist car, as there was a massive commitment from the Iberian team, and just didn't pay off the way they wanted to be paid off.
Alex Bennett continues to lead the way at the front of this field as unfortunate incident into the chase. That's I think the chase so far has really been Calamity Corner, but for the most part we have been able to get around them mostly unscathed. I think we've only really had like 2 actual crashes. We had that one, and then of course the lap 1 incident. Other than that, it's just been drivers overshooting the braking zone and flying off the end of the track, but they've been able to get stopped prior to hitting any barriers or other drivers. Whereas Alex Bennett has been way up in front, has thus far been able to avoid all the calamity, and he has been able to avoid even the woes of lapped traffic, as well as the 101 Maniti Racing Machine hasn't had to deal with any of the lapped cars thus far that we're used to seeing in GT racing, which that's a blessing at a track like this.
Easy. Don't say this is a blessing now. Don't say this is a blessing here. You know, all tracks. This might not be a blessing. Is Mount Panorama.
Got a replay. A replay happened to Marco Silva. This is down into the final corner, Murray's corner. Oh, he tagged a Mercedes and shot that car into the pit wall.
Oh,
and
no.
Oh, he has been hit. I thought he maybe did that a flick spin, but no, he's been collected by one of the other Mercs. You saw the front bumper fall off. Yeah, was that one of the torque-free cars?
Looked like to be, unless that was a P1 Esports. The livery color is the same. That's why I get confused sometimes. I know Joachim Stennes is gonna beat myself in the head for not knowing the livery of their cars.
Nuno Costa has been given a drive-through penalty in the 333 entry, so that is unfortunate. That was for the incident in qualifying, actually, and that was after I was early in qualifying as well. He slowed up on the apex in front of car 345, which impeded them. That's led to a drive-through penalty during the race, so that's a tough break there for Nuno Costa. Meanwhile, the pit window has opened. Drivers are now required to come down to pit road between now and the 45 minutes ago mark in this race for a mandatory driver swap. Failure to have a second driver in the car, I believe, results in a disqualification. This is on board with Bergsdorf, and there's just nowhere to go. I mean, you couldn't turn the car to the left nearly in time to avoid that with the angle that BMW was stopped at.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think looking from Marco's perspective right there, you cannot even blame Marco, even for trying to hold on the brakes, because the car just bounces. Because I think that is like a sort of a safe tire wall barrier, ask of sorts. So it bounced the car back, even with minimal speed, into the optimal line in the racetrack. And for P1 Esports, that damaged wing is going to make a lot of differences, how it picks up speed and how effective it's going to be throughout its max speed, acceleration, and drag. And it could be hurtful for them, especially given the fact they are the car on the bubble in Division 3 to avoid for the top 6 qualification for next season.
So now if you're the lines of Alex Bennett, Sean Campbell, Jan Sedkowski, and Fabio Unverdrus, when do you want to make this pit stop window? Do you want to come in
latest possible
earlier or later? You want to
latest possible.
Latest possible?
Latest possible.
How do you figure?
Avoid any avoid 1, potential traffic shenanigans. 2, mark your team, mark your opposition. 3, the yellow flag, throw a wrench in the mix. So now you are due to make it about 15 minutes, I think, left in the tank with these 2 laps. So there is a good possibility this 55 to 50 minutes left pit stops happening en masse in this track is going to be a thing. You're not even seeing Sean being overly aggressive to try to make for a move. He could have done that so long ago, but it's he's playing that Maniti Racing for fools. But or you think he is, but because Maniti, I think he's playing a very smart game of keeping them at bay and also work the fuel range as well.
Side-by-side battle between one of the Olympus Esports entries. That's their BMW machine driven by Stephenson. Kind of pinch it in. Simon Attrell in the Echelon Simsport 345, not leaving that Mercedes with not a whole lot to go other than to back out through turn number 2 at Quarry Bend. Will look back up to the top 4. Yeah, I was going to mention at this point, I was thinking maybe if you have, because usually teams are, oh wow, as I hit to the wall there for Campbell, firing down through the, keep forgetting the dipper, giving us a little bit of a damage on the left side of that portion of 11. I was going to mention that, oh, hello, whoa, hello. Huge off for Marco Pereira.
Oh my God.
That's a skyline as a few cars forced to take it over the chicane. How was that for?
That is.
I'm sorry for laughing.
Right,
I'm sorry for laughing at that, but the image of that car just kind of backing away as it almost retreats in shame from the camera was too funny for me to
I had a print on my mind. You know when those trucks, when you see a lorry or a truck, whatever you want to say it, like you start reversing, and you can see like those beep sounds, like beep, beep, beep noises. Reversing kind of like.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's not like he could do a whole lot. Like, you can't flick spin a car in a gap that small. You have to do like a 15-point turn with traffic coming up on you. Good luck with that. And that was the right move, right? To just kind of
that was the right move.
Yeah, that was a great move to reverse the car and then just kind of wait till the traffic's gone through, and then use the extra runoff at Skyline to be able to turn around that way. If that was the right move to do there.
The only
however
question
amusing
is,
it looked.
The only question is, did he learn that from? Did he learn that from practice, real life practice, defensive practice, maybe with the police force, or from Mater from Cars, which is the best reverse gear driver in the whole world?
I wouldn't quite know on that one.
Because he used his mirrors. Mater does that.
You can kind of tell he uses his mirrors by the kind of the little twitching the car was doing as it was backing up. He's just kind of correcting to keep it out of the wall.
Doing his best Kachow impression to the other cars on the track.
I don't often see sights like that. A car just slowly backing out of view of a camera. That was...
it's kind of like, if you see a car like that, what do you do? It's like, do you wave at people? It's like, hey, don't mind me, I'm just reversing.
I want to know what Christopher Stephenson thought when he comes around into Skyline, finds a set of BMW headlights pointing at him. I think like, at that point, you'd have, I think, would that qualify as a change of trousers moment right there, or a different race suit?
No. If it wasn't the Apex, then yes.
Fair enough. I think the Olympus Esports Porsche, I believe it was the rest of Skya, had a moment like that, as he was right on the race line. She had to cut straight across Skyline, or she would have plowed right into him.
Yeah. As now, finally, our pit stops are starting. Yeah, there goes Nick McLaughlin.
McLaughlin down and into pit road. Campbell and Bennett have continued to lead the way, 1-2 as it stands in this field.
Now,
looking around, there has a lot of the battles we had have really kind of tapered out and spread out on this latest restart here. I think one of the bigger ones is still Jay Shuri and Adam State. You might have Harshford and Burtonshaw as well. Other than that, a lot of the drivers are just running single file.
Now, but you know what's the worst of it all of this? I cannot get the BMW image out of my head. I'm literally curious to see whoever wins this race. What would your reaction be if you see something like that?
On board with Nick McLaughlin here. This is off the Conrad straight into the chase. Whoa! Hello! That's not the racetrack, and I'm not a huge mechanical expert. I do know, though, these are not rally cars. They are not meant for that stuff like that, and takes it straight to pit road. Hard to say I blame him on that one.
No, but he had no grip.
May as well.
You can even see he tried to turn his wheels, like turn. expletives and the thing not turning at all is like I would be frustrated as well if the car gave you no grip while you're trying to brake and you had get nothing at all.
Got the fight for 7th place started to pick up a little bit. You see right at the tail end of the shot of Ryan Scott Hamilton and Massimo Locatello, German Sim Racing, and Prestanda Nomad have been getting a bit closer over the last little while as they'll rocket out of Hell Corner and down the mountain straight up towards Corey Bend. They've got Schaefer still right behind them, and as I say that, Hamilton starts to extend that gap up. I wonder if Hamilton running a lower downforce setup, which is allowing him to build up this gap on the straights, enough that Locatello can only close up in the corners, but not enough to get up to him by the time they get down to the Conrod. I've been noticing Locatello is able to close up so much in the corners, especially this opening sector. I mean, you saw how much he just reeled in just turns 2 to 5 there, and now he's right up the gearbox again. But you take a look at that compared to the gap it was before, and I think at this point they've both been held up by Nuno S. Costa for V Racers, who's going to pull off to the side and let them through, and a bad line going to cost Locatello there through McPhillamy.
No, but here's the thing. All right, let's just say you are a team. You have 2 cars from the same brand. Why would you go with different setups? I'll say, hey, dude, I'm just gonna put like 5 clicks of wing over here. You do 3 clicks. I'm just gonna try to set the springs to hard, you set to soft, and I'm gonna do a race like this. For me, it doesn't make sense. But anyway, it's weird. It's very weird to think they would be running a different setups. I think it's just how you use the track you are. You know, you might not be as comfortable as you are as move is gonna be done.
Locatello to the inside of Hamilton. That was perfectly executed off the Conrod straight and into the chase, and that's going to put Locatello now up in the 7th spot. Carlos Moreno has been black flagged as well, a drive-through penalty for car 134. That is that was at the 48-minute mark into this race. It was not leaving sufficient overlap prior to turn in, so causing a collision. That's a drive-through penalty then for Moreno. That's unfortunate for the 134. They'll have a lot of work to do over the course of the night, and we'll take one more look. This is with Christopher Stephenson.
Again.
Hello. Say hello. How are you doing, sir? Salutations. I'm gonna go on my way.
Or you have to assume, or imagine if he's like kind of like bred in, just go, hello, sir, how are you doing with a cup of tea? while doing the corner one-handed and downshifting with his pinky on the left hand.
I can tell you right now, I'm going to be making a meme about that after this race. It's too good not to.
Hello there.
Oh, and that's Dane Baird, our producer here, is just giving me. There's too many.
This race has gone downhill from the get-go.
Look, it only takes one moment, right, to define a race, and unfortunately, I don't think that's the moment that he was wanting to define this race. Look, you see something, you have to take advantage of it, and the initial imagery was just too good, right? And I think what I would love to see is Skaya of that moment, because she had to take a bonsai line across the skyline runoff.
Yeah.
So if we could get that potentially, I think that would be insanity.
Here comes
Sean Campbell coming to pit road. This is less than 10 minutes to go in the pit window. Clips the little gravel perfectly, and I thought for a moment ripped the front end apart with how much curbing was taken up there. As the damage model updates, though, that car smooth sailing. Campbell is into the pits, and right behind him, that is Dilworth, also into the 256.
Yeah, and I told you to stay as late as possible, trying to mark your opponents. I think Alex Bennett might be coming into this lap, and there's lap traffic in front of him, so that might have been perfect for the American to come into the pit lane, do his stop for Delta Sport, as now Bennett fighting himself under Ingersoll Rand traffic, as now the Iberians just go into the outside, but that is a little bit of a time loss. Now, Sintowski's going to be in the same problem, try to go through quarries, and fortunately for them, get away unscathed. The problem now becomes for Deutsche Bahn and German Machine Racing on how do you deal with this? As I was wondering now if you're Marco Barrero, whoever was in that World Sim Racing car, I think the problem is that he didn't have Heusinkveld pedals. And this moment was not brought to you by Heusinkveld. I tried to do some product placement. I don't know if it was successful or not.
Sean Campbell is out of pit road and still in the car, and I do want to make an amendment to my statement earlier. I mentioned there is a mandatory driver swap required. I've checked the regulations. There is no driver swap required. You just have to have a minimum of a 60-second pit stop. I believe that is to cover the drivers that do have a secondary driver that they want to put into the car. We do have a look on what Ozretskaya saw throughout the mess of that wreck that we had up at Skyline from earlier on, as we'll see the top two again hit pit road. We'll wait for these pit stops to cycle on out. How about we'll get back to that secondary angle in a minute. We'll see at first where Sean Campbell's going to come out. This is big, right? This is for the race lead, as Maniti Racing's Alex Bennett is into pit road, and critically also do not have a second driver that they're going to be putting into the car. I believe Senkowski will be having Adrian Dietzel work his way into the Heusinkveld 148 Porsche 911 GT3R, as there is the Delta Sport machine firing his way down through the dipper and in towards Forest Elbow. Is this enough to catch with Alex Bennett after he got held up by the Ingersoll Rand lap traffic?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just wondering where Campbell was around the track, and I'm trying to mentalize how many seconds do you take from the entry to the exit of the pit lane, because it is one of the slowest pit lanes, if not the slowest this season.
Bennett's right at the end of it, though, so he can just jump off the... He doesn't even have to use the pit limiter on exit. He's right there.
Yeah, and he's going to basically go nearly flat out into turn number one and get away and skip. But I think the fact that he had the Ingersoll Rand car, this might be closer than anticipated, as now I can hear revs. And I think that is Alex Bennett coming out of the pit lane as we speak.
Bennett just now leaves pit road, and it was not in time. Sean Campbell takes over the race lead. He's jumped him on the undercut. Campbell to the race lead. Senkowski also jumps Bennett for second. Bennett's fallen all the way back to third, as Team Heusinkveld was better on pit entry. And Jen Senkowski remains in the race car for the 148. Diesel did not go into pit road, jump into the race car. And Alex Bennett has dropped now down to third.
I'm surprised of the jump into the pit lane, but I'm not surprised of Sean taking the lead from these cars, from both of these cars, due to the fact that Ingersoll Rand was just blocking the path, and I'm saying blocking the path where that goes around it, and made sure they lost enough time into their in lap, and that would have aided the American driver to be now in the lead once more in this race. Not first time in this race, but once more in the championship, and now into the driver's seat to win this race and claim victory once more in the season.
Orban Motorsports, German Sim Racing, Satellite Racing, and Rusty Spatulas all into pit road as well. I believe Geeks Energy Sim Racing and Satellite Racing, the 264, are both opting to stay out for the time being. Nope, they are also both down and into pit road for service. As I believe that's going to be the last chunk of drivers that we're waiting on to come down and into pit road. Potentially the I Liveries 241 still has yet to stop, as Patrick Schaefer will work his way through and take up the, I believe, the on-track race lead, but certainly not the net race lead, as I do believe, again, Schaefer still has yet to make a stop in his BMW M4 GT3. Let's take a look at that replay now that the pit stop window has more or less cycled itself on through. This will be, I believe, above the rest of Sky is viewed throughout this mess, and heads up right in the racing line and takes to the runoff. And how about that? Thinking on your feet. Sometimes it's a slowdown penalty, yes. Sometimes, though, it's worth to lose a few seconds than to lose a whole race. That was the only move she had, and she had maybe a quarter of a second, if that, to make that reaction, Lorenzo, and did so perfectly.
No, man, I'm not gonna lie. I opened up her stream. I wanted this on her VOD because I know she makes she's a Twitch streamer, so this probably is gonna go into the best Twitch clips of the week.
Oh boy, that was, I mean, again, that was insanity that we saw in that move, and that's one of those moves where once you see that once, you're going to be sweating bullets every time you approach that corner for at least the next hour. You're going to be paranoid now when you fly up on that corner because you're wondering, is there a car that's also stopped there? Because we saw on the onboard, literally could not see him until the last possible second. I think the one thing that would have saved her there is the fact that there are spotters in here that will tell you car stopped ahead. And on board again, look, you can't see around that corner. Even if you hear a car stop, is it on the right where it's safe? Is it on the left on the race line? You don't know until you're right there.
I committed the cardinal sin. I was speaking with my microphone muted. Yeah, it's insane to think about the insane reaction times that you have to do in a track like this. You're going through a corner entry that demands it demands commitment. You have to stay committed to Skyline, and if you make the slightest mistake into Skyline that we've seen before, it can basically make it or break it. And good reactions from her just to stay into the outside and stay alive, even though she got a slowdown at the end of things, but the car's still in one piece.
Oh boy, that is I tell you what, that was, again, it's nuts to see something like that right in front of you. And there are very, very few drivers that are capable of making such a reaction like that. And the fact that she had the whereabouts to be able to make a move like that to avoid catastrophe is a serious testament to the talent that she's got behind the wheel. I know I would not have been able to make a move like that to make that happen. So again, fantastic driving, and hopefully it's not a move she'll have to make more than once. Still waiting on Patrick Schaefer to come down to pit road. Now, critically, the pit window is closed, and he's now been given a 25-second stop and hold penalty as a result of that one, as Patrick Schaefer has missed the pit stop window. And that's going to be crucial. That's effectively, again, race over for Patrick Schaefer, as they are going to be he's going to be forced now to pull down a pit road and take his initial pit stop plus 25 seconds. That's devastating. We talked about it earlier about how drivers have been caught out by these pit stop times before. Well, another one has just fallen victim, and he's not taking that penalty. He is staying out for another lap. He is testing race control's patience here.
No, you know why he hasn't taken that pit stop? Because from what I understand, they did their pit stop already. So
when?
A few laps back.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
So yes, he did make a pit stop, and Dame Baird has just clarified they did not stop for the full minute. It was only for about 45 seconds, I believe, the time was on that one. That's why the black flag has been there. The pit lane time was a minute, but it's not pit lane time that has to be 6 seconds. It is pit stop time. There's a very key difference. Pit lane time is overall time you're in pit road from start to entry, or from start to exit, I should say. The pit stop time, that's just when you're in your box. That's the timer that has to be up to 60 seconds. That's what Schaefer has failed to meet, and that's why they're going to try to extend this out. I wonder if they're going to be trying to fight that penalty here.
I'm trying to remember. This is not the first time I've seen in IVRA, and I'm trying to remember which team did it in Club Sport in Fuji that nearly broke the record. of having not just one but two pit time infringements in one race.
No
And
kidding.
yeah, and I think that me and Arjuna nearly was either me or Arjuna. I'm trying to remember. It's been quite a long time, some time ago. I was baffled. It's like, I understand you might miss by a few tenths of a second for release, but still, like, they were making massive blunders. Like, you cannot make a blunder like this into the pit lane. You know you have to stay for 60 seconds. Just get a time watch or something as now Schaefer comes in to serve his penalty.
Well, I think that makes sense then about why Schaefer was able to get out by so much, considering he had already come to pit road. Cutting 15 seconds off your pit stop time that everybody else is forced to take, that'll do it. Schaefer into service, 25-second stop and hold now as a result of that one.
He tried to play 5D chess. It didn't work.
I'm still wondering if maybe they were trying to fight that penalty potentially, which is why they stayed out for a couple of extra laps. No, I don't think you can either. I wonder if maybe they were going to try to claim, though, we were in pit road for a minute, ergo, we did obey the rule of the law. But
No.
It's critical. You have to be in the box, 60 seconds.
Yeah, in the box doesn't mean
the exact wording is
literally the run has to be 1 minute. It has to be the run plus 1 minute in the stall.
The exact wording under 5.6a is each car must make a pit stop with a minimum stationary time of 60 seconds, during which the car is stopped in its pit box. Caution is out for the second time tonight with 40 minutes to go.
This might be a blessing in disguise for them.
Now, I think that's a lifesaver for them if they can get out before the safety car does. If they don't, they're stuck at the front of the pacing line, which they'll have to get waved around that with 1 to green.
Oh boy. Sean must be loving this, low-key.
So we've had another big moment on the racetrack somewhere. We will do some digging. With Dame Baird is on the case. Dame Baird's on the case, so we'll see what we have here. We'll see if this lines up as Dilworth pulls into Hell Corner. Gets back rolling.
Oh, please don't tell me you ran out of fuel. Oh,
He's not run out of
no.
fuel. He's just...
Oh, no.
Has he run out of fuel? Pulls off to the side, and that's it. That's what sends the car to pit road.
All right, here's the thing. I can explain because I actually, ironically, my team did it on the Endurance Series for the Endurance Series at Motegi. So what happened was that I think Dilworth, I think he ran out of fuel. We can actually bring him because he's on TeamSpeak. He's in our race spot booth. We can bring him to actually talk about this. But if you tow your car without authorization from race control, and this we have to take a look on the race control board. If you just tow, even though it is by, let's just say your spasms just made you tow the car without authorization, race control kind of automatically throws a caution to say, oh, they towed without authorization and try to simulate it. I'm not going to say try to simulate a yellow flag, but we have to throw just to, it happened or something like this. So it wasn't a spot that it wasn't a towable, or you could basically just quit the car and tow back to the pits.
There is critically an exception to that rule, but it does not apply here. The one exception to that rule is you are allowed to tow without permission if you are an immediate hazard to other cars, i.e. you are stopped on the racing line and unable to move. that's the case where, yes, you are allowed to take the tow. So, for example, the BMW that we saw stopped in the Skyline, if he was not able to move from that spot, he would have been allowed to tow without authorization because otherwise it would have resulted in disaster for this field. But you mentioned safety car deployed second time today, and Jason Dilworth, of course, is standing by. We will drag him up and we'll see what happened here to the 256. Jason Dilworth joins us up here in the broadcast booth. What the heck happened there?
I didn't want to be talking to you this early, let's put it that way. But I've been having hardware issues all week with my VR headset. It's overheating. I've had a fan pointed at my face all race, which has been putting me right off. But it's just overheated. I thought I could get through the race, but it's unfortunately cut out, so I couldn't see anything. So hopefully I didn't cause any carnage there.
Well, you were lucky enough to not cause any carnage. You were able to get it pulled off to the side. I'll give you credit for being able to work your way down to the side and keep it out of traffic considering the problems. We thought you had run out of fuel potentially there.
Yeah, because we saw the message warning coming out of your dashboard, and we thought, like, okay, you didn't commit the cardinal sin of not putting too much fuel. So we are relieved that, of course, it's still not good enough. It's still not good that you had a hardware tech issue, but still, it's good that with the cardinal sin of fuel was not committed.
Yeah, the luck hasn't been with me this season. I had a couple of races that should have gone a different way, and this is just another one. But it's been really good fun, and it was good fun fighting at the front there. I thought that Marius had the pace on me during that first stint, but it felt like in the early bits of that second stint, maybe I could have caught up with Nicholas and made it interesting. But we'll never know. So there it is.
Actually, I do have a pondering question, which I was just looking into the top six, and we were talking about this. Top six normally avoids any potential pre-qualification shenanigans that we have right about September and October, when normally sign-ups open for IVRA series throughout its entire schedules. What was the goal for the team coming into this race, and are you guys concerned that it's not going to be a DNF? You guys went past the half-hour mark. I think it's going to be counted towards points. But is there major concerns that this might not be enough? The points that you might earn at the end of the race might not be enough for you to be into the top six.
Yeah, potentially. What we were really wanting today was an almost impossible situation with bridging that 50-point gap to Deutsch payments to get second, because we really wanted that guaranteed entry to Endurance Series for next season. Obviously, that's not to be. They didn't look like they were going to DNF today anyway. Finishing top six wasn't really on our radar. It was really that second place in the championship that we wanted. And really, talking to my spotter today, I wanted the class win. I wanted to finish the season off with that. So wherever we end up pre-qualification wise for next season, we'll take that and we'll do what we can with it. It just would have been nice to have that guaranteed spot for endurance.
Thank you for taking the time to join us up here. An unfortunate way to end off the season, but hey, there is always next time, and hopefully there are bluer skies ahead for that 256 entry. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for your help all season. Thanks, guys.
I was Jason Dilworth joining us up here in the broadcast booth. So I think that paints a much more understandable picture of how that went so wrong, Lorenzo. I think a hardware failure, definitely, I think a much more reasonable explanation of how that went so awry there.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and that's where I could say I could issue an apology of sorts for Jason Dilworth and that percent of Nomad car, which makes me very sad, to be very honest. They were into the top 10. They were having a very solid result. Of course, not going to get into second position from going to snap that second position from a Deutsche payment, but nevertheless, they were having a solid race so far, and definitely that race would solidify them into the top six. But with that being said, now that Jason's out of the car and I don't see any indicatives that they're going to be coming back into this race. That this might be their season done and dusted. They probably going to have to go into pre-quali in about 5 months' time to get back into the IVRA GT Sprint Series.
Safety car lights are out. We go back to green flag racing, this time bar anything major happening down the Conrad Straight here. I wouldn't expect this to occur, but it's been a race, right? I mean, we've had moments before. It wouldn't surprise me. Sean Campbell, Jan Sankowski, Alex Bennett, Fabio Unverdruss, and Nicholas Schaefer, the top 5 as it stands. And so far, it is... You're going to hate me for this. Is Porsche German or Italian?
Oh, no.
Listen.
No. Nolan, please. Porsche's a German brand.
Thank you. Okay, so it's German manufacturers at the top 5. I keep getting confused, okay? I know Ferrari and Lamborghini are Italian. I got that going for me. I know BMW and Mercedes are German. I keep forgetting what Porsche is, okay?
All right, here's the thing. We have basically the entirety barred one car being a German brand. You can even say that Ford is American, but it's not American. It's a Czech brand as we have green flag.
Locatello with a great jump on the restart.
Sheesh.
He's jumped 3 spots on the run to turn number 1. He's up to 3rd alongside with Alex Bennett here. And now alongside again down the mountain straight as Locatello. How about that for a great restart? Goes from 6th to 4th on the exit of turn number 1. And now under fire by Unverdruss in the German sim racing, his teammate. They're going to hold up Schaefer in the Deutsche Payments 287, who has to back out to avoid turning him.
Yeah, absolutely. But what a launch from German sim racing. Locatello just basically with a NASCAR launch into the Daytona 500 and having a perfect launch and basically catching the whole field off guard. I wouldn't say with their pants down, but I'm not going to do that. I already said it nevertheless, so here we go. But so that being said, Locatello going from 0 to hero in just one corner, and now you have 4 or 5 German sim racing with less than 30 minutes to go.
Under 30 minutes remaining. It is a sprint of sprints. Lap traffic, theoretically, shouldn't be a problem for Sean Campbell up in front. This is going to be a race to the end. The fight still underway for 3rd, 4th, 5th on back. The top 2 starting to waltz off into the sunset.
Yeah, and Sean just treating this race like it was nothing back when he had the 3-second gap in Team Heusinkveld and having a really good result so far. So Arbit now, I think, is in a really good spot to try to nab the lead from Deutsche Payment. It's just a question of if Ethan Bass's grip is going to last all the way to the end, and if that Ford does have power and as the American branded car. But here comes here's the thing. All right, Nolan, here's the thing. Ford is American, but is not made by Ford. It's made by Matech. Matech is Czech, so you can say it is an American Czech car. As we have 2 for 1, nearly 3 for 1 in one corner.
It's getting a little bit hairy here for Ethan Boss as he had Alessio Canton's fire it up the inside of the Spell Esports 191. Luke Burtonshaw. Vector Series into the 227, making the move as well, and forced to tuck in line. We'll look back to Aiden Rafai from Restanda Nomads 356 entry. All still line astern. This is for 11th on back. No, it is 10th on back. What a move that we've been seeing here. The aggression has been kicked into overdrive.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I will not let you slander me, Dane.
Well, with that being said, as we go back to the broadcast, and still have this race going on. It's just I'm getting information that it shocks me to the bone.
No,
I apologize, viewers, for Nolan's lack of knowledge of not knowing that Porsche is German, even though the name itself, if you say it's intensively German, if you say try to say as English as you can possibly say it, it is German.
Stop! This is not gonna be my legacy today. I will not allow this to be my legacy in the GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld.
Oh Lord.
I'm never gonna live this down, am I?
Nope, you can put that in your comment. In your comments, it is real. Oh my God!
Huge moment in the background as that was Burtonshaw forced to take a tumble down the timing order as he just took too much curb on the exit of Murray's corner. And Burtonshaw still out on the race course as a result of that one, but that again became a bit much for the 227 to handle as he took way too much. He got up onto the grass and head on into the Repco barriers over on the left-hand side, and luckily in a big gap in this field so nobody else getting into the back of him. We'll look back up to Jeremy Gonsalves, the 111 Mercedes, right up the back end of Chris Bell for Satellite Racing. This is a replay of Burtonshaw. You saw the hit to the inside wall.
7.8 out of 10, 360 spin, not too much water, negatives.
Oh my God. I don't have a follow for that. I don't have anything for you.
Gamey memes. Gamey memes. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm surprised that Ethan is not being able to keep up with Schaefer though.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Take it in, Nolan. The day has come. The day of reckoning has come.
For what? What did I do? 25 minutes to go. As Ethan Boss for Ober Wars for Venus. I'm not gonna be able to get this back on track, am I, after that?
Oh, you are, but you're gonna have to earn it. As Satellite is defending from a precision sim racing, as now Gonsalves goes up on Jake Sure on Chris Bell and makes that overtake work, but that wasn't the prettiest of overtakes on the exit out of Hell's Corner, and basically bunches up the entirety of that 6-7 car train that is being led by that number of 111 car.
Gonsalves continuing to maintain that fight for 10th. Got a replay here. This is coming off. Oh, hello!
Oh my God.
Huge hit to the inside wall off of Forrest Elbow onto the Conrad straight. That was for Jorge Carrera in the 135 machine. That sent Ingersoll Rand, GT3 Sprint 2, to the tail end of the lead lap, back in 23rd place. But crucially, still on the racetrack. And at this point in time, how do we think this race is going to be planning out from here? Because it's looking like it's going to get a bit more intense as, holy cow, Burtonshaw just made an overtake into Skyline, completely unprompted. You don't see that terribly often. Sean Campbell going to continue to rocket away with the race lead up in front. I think at this point, this is the Campbell show. It's his race to lose. Senkowski has been able to keep with him, but not get closer to him in that fight for the lead.
No, and I think from what it looks like, Sean is going to be able to run away with this, and he looks comfortable, just like his office chairs that probably are spread around his room. As we're going to see what happened to Burtonshaw coming into Skyline, and like I said, a commitment is key over here for any driver, and that was good on Burtonshaw. And also, McLaughlin just, this is not my fight. I'm just going to lift off. I'm P2 in Division 3. I'm getting good points, so no complaints whatsoever. It's still in between that top 15, P2 in Div 3, and still happy about his status in this race so far.
Oh, as Burton Shaw off course now at turn number 1 and under fire by Nick McLaughlin working for the outside line in towards Corey Bend. Again, underneath the Betters signage, the Precision Racing Esports 311 trying to hang that one high and wide. Oh, he's tracked it out big time as Burton Shaw trying to keep him at bay. Nick McLaughlin holding, even though he'll back out in the run towards the cutting. Thought for one Chris Chadden was going to try to hang one around the outside of turn 4. But the two weight of Prestana Nomad gonna opt against it. Again, it's getting wild here from Mount Panorama as these drivers, they're showing no fear or perhaps no thought behind the moves they're making at the moment.
I'm gonna be very honest. I'm seeing another potential yellow flag down the line.
And I think at this point, that might be a race ender with only 20 minutes left to go.
Yeah. It's not going to be a race ender, as we've seen average of 2 laps in this race, unless it is something that is completely dramatic, that involves like 55 cars into this grid. And that would be, of course, that would basically be everyone, but it's not going to involve everyone. Unless, if it is Road America made straight out of the start of a race, like I've seen in a Field Official Series this week. But from what it looks like, it has to be something, again, completely dramatic for B to not only get a yellow flag and basically be a race ender.
Nick McLaughlin in the 311 Precision Racing Esports 113 Mercedes-AMG GT3 has been having a bit of a day, as I thought from home. He was going to lose the back end off of the final corner. We'll look a bit further down the field to a thicker group of traffic. This is Hina Hakkinen for Rusty Spatula's 313 machine, trying to get up to Alejandro Castanera, the Ingersoll Ranch GT3 134 Mercedes. Now, this is again going to be critical for a lot of the drivers in this field, as we are really in crunch time as it stands. As we see the 225 of Aaron Ackles for Kazar Sim Racing just made the pass on Aiden Rafai as well in the 356. That was, I believe, in the run coming off of turn number 1, as the 356 got a bit wide and up onto the curbing there, allowed for the 225 to get a good run off of turn 1 down the mountain straight. But it's at the point now where you can't really waste time setting these passes up now. You've got to make these moves as soon as you see even the slice door open. Oh my gosh! My heart just leapt into my throat there for Ethan Boss.
Yours and mine combined. I'm somehow, some way that Ford GT3 stays alive, and I know. Here's the thing: I tried to drive this car with the baseline setup once. One thing, if that car bounces, I see you in heaven.
On board, and oh my goodness, the littlest of snaps. And I tell you what, it does not get any finer than that. What it would not give to have a camera on that wall in particular. I would have loved to see the exact gap there, but any closer than that, that car is firing into the left side of the racetrack, and we're easily having a roadblock in the Dipper.
Yeah, roadblock, I would say, is an understatement. You would basically have to get the entirety of the Australian... what would be their council, or like their road and safety council, to try to remove all the cars from the track? And maybe some kangaroos to aid in pushing the cars aside with their kicks, and still I don't think that would be enough to remove every single one of them in time.
Kangaroos are often a tradition when it comes to races like the Bathurst 1000 here. Isn't it a sort of like a tradition that there's at least like 1 or 2 every year?
Yeah, if David Haynes was over here in this broadcast booth, he would give you stories for ages around kangaroos around Mount Panorama.
We should petition iRacing to throw in the occasional kangaroo that you can actually collide with, just to
Wait, are you? Oh,
supercars races.
you devil! Are you? Oh.
Hey, you want the real experience?
I'm calling PETA. I'm calling PETA or PETA, whatever.
No real kangaroos were harmed in the making of this simulation. There's a lot of stories, though, that we could go on and on about weird moments that have happened at Mount Panorama. It's just a track that it invites the weird. You remember there was that one time off the Conrad Straight, a tree fell across the circuit. What do you do in that situation? I mean, you can't go to pit road for the red flag. There's a tree blocking the whole track. They had to just park on the Conrad Straight and wait for crews to come and literally chop the tree up into wooden logs like a demolition crew and clear it away.
Now, basically what you're saying is that Mount Panorama is just as weird as the Nordschleife, where you have rain, snow, rain, a little bit of drizzle, snow, rain, clear track, clear skies, clear track, skies. Yeah, and that's. I'm just going to the first sector, okay? And then we have sector. We have the track is flooded. The track is dry. The track is partially flooded, immensely flooded. We have to call the German National Department of forestry, whatever they want to call it, and remove all the trees that fell into the track. That's just a sector. And you're still going green flag.
Oh boy.
With 60 kilometers speed average.
I cannot wait to see what wet weather will do to tracks like Mount Panorama and the clean race that we've seen so far here today. There was, I remember watching an overtake on YouTube once. It was over the top of the hill. I believe it was actually into McPhillamy Park. It was a Porsche on Porsche fight. It was quite literally just complete hydroplane, monsoon-style conditions at the top of the mountain. The overtake was for position at about 40 kilometers an hour over the top of the hill. But hey, an overtake's still an overtake, no matter how slow it is, and no matter what conditions they're at. So that is the type of weather that I live for. And I can tell you right now, we'd have a lot more safety cars if this race had the potential for wet weather in it. And I still cannot wait for the day when they finally release that wet weather to us. It is going to be such a treat for us in the booth and a curse for every single driver on the racetrack.
I'm excited to see how that probably is going to affect, like, I think I said this even at the Fuji broadcast for the club sport.
Oh, true.
Like, let's just say São Paulo. Like, whenever you go into Suzuka, like, what kind of tires do you select? Because the São Paulo is always like rainy. It's São Paulo names in Portuguese is Terra da Garoa, which is basically the drizzle city, because it's always drizzling. It doesn't matter where and when it's gonna drizzle. So, and there is always this unpredictability. Yeah, there you go. English not my strongest suit. I apologize. I'm Brazilian. What am I going to say? No excuses. But this unpredictability makes you unaware of if you keep the dry tires, if you're going to be cold, if you're going to be wet, intermediates. For example, I think the Verstappen race where he went with intermediates, I think that was back in 2019, I think, that he put a master class on everybody. That was just like borderline insanity for me to think about everybody on wets and him on the intermediates, and he was basically putting everybody to shame.
"13 minutes left to go on the clock. If ever there was going to be one final safety car, this would be the minute in which that would happen. But it's been so far an amazing run throughout this field, and I think only 2 safety cars, only one for an actual crash, quote unquote. That's not bad at all. That's overall a very successful race for Mount Panorama, especially with the quality of racing that we have had, right? Minimal incidents and all the action that we could possibly have to offer.
Yeah, 100%. This is something that we
we should mention that the attrition rate, for what it's worth, has been one of its lowest so far this season, which surprised me at all, given the fact of the nature of this track, like you said.
Whoa, hello. Bit of a move there. Nick McLaughlin to the inside, into the chase. Picks off the 356 of the Prestanda Nomad machine. And Rafai, I thought for a moment, might try something. There was a look entering the chase. Rafai cut the nose off with the 311. McLaughlin switched back perfectly and made the pass happen. Meanwhile, another look at an overtake. That was down into Murray's corner. Patrick Shaver, iLiveries, still trying to close up to Simon Atrill, one of the other echelon sim sport machines. That's the 345 from the 3rd division. Their fight for 19th overall.
Yeah, got feisty there for a moment, but fortunately for them, they kept it in one piece, and this is what we want to see as we see the battle between teammates, as now German, the 166, is trying to fend off whatever that the 127 of I was going to say Massimo Locatello is trying to look around the track, but so far it's not finding with his teammate. I don't know if working together over here with 10 minutes to go is the best way to go.
You see the front end of these GT3 cars leaping over the dips through the dipper. Well, I guess that's why they call it the dipper for a reason. Leaping through the dips in the dipper section down towards Forest's elbow, as it shows just how fine the margins are here at Mount Panorama. As we will continue to work our way through towards the end of this race. 10 minutes in a 2-hour, technically about hour and 50-minute long venture to go. You're looking to battle for 4th between Locatello and Unverdrus, the 2 German sim racing teammates, the 127, the 166, nose to tail. You reckon we're going to get Team Orders to keep them in line, or we're going to see something happening potentially elsewhere, as Jake Shuri having it off at the chase?
I've commentated the Cardinals sin. I was speaking with the microphone muted again.
See, I may have mixed up a car brand. At least I didn't do that. At least I made my mistakes notable by being audible when I made them.
No, yours is worse. We do that from time to time. Even Arjuna does that from time to time. No, yours is completely worse. You butchered a brand that...
Hey, I didn't assume. I asked for clarification.
3 years. 3 years. We've been working with Porsche, with Bloggles by mine. But as I was saying, they do sometimes streams of their driver's perspective and POVs. I know for a fact they're not going to give team orders. If there is a team order, it's just like, don't kill yourselves. If you guys want to fight, fight. But give us entertainment. Just don't crash yourselves and make everybody laugh at us, and give us a Twitch clips that is going to go on Bash Twitch clips of the week in about like 3-4 days.
I have been instructed by some friends of mine in another server that I'm in to play it off as purposeful. I'm not sure if I meant to say that, but I'm going to say that was meant to test your knowledge. See if you knew that it was a German car brand now. And that's my officials telling of events now.
Everyone knows!
That's my official telling of events. You can't tell me otherwise. That's how my record books are gonna go of this day.
No, you're not getting... It's like you're not gonna get away that easily from us. If this was like... I don't know. Justin would not get away with this. But you're lucky that you're now with... No. It's not. I'm trying to remember who was going to commentate originally. Stefan. If you were with Stefan over here,
oh yeah,
you would have been in the world of
He'd
pain.
still be chewing me out about it. He probably will be chewing me out about it after the fact.
He would have been buying a plane from Vienna or whatever he lives in Austria to personally hunt you down.
Time to move. Oh boy. Less than 10 minutes to go as the time has continued to run out on this race. And I tell you what, it's been one heck of a championship, and I think even more of a championship finale. Bathurst is such a great venue to have for a final race, and I am so glad. Oh, a slap to the wall there for Unverdrust. That was coming on down out of Sullivan Park, and again, lucky that he kept the back end in check. I've seen so many cases of drivers slap that outside wall there, and as a result, lose control. Most notably, I think it was an Aston Martin GT3 during the 12 hours a couple of years ago that had a moment like that. They hit the outside wall, lost control into McPhillamy Park, slammed it rear end first into the wall, and actually flipped over against the concrete barrier. We'll look on board with Unverdrust here. The run, right there, a bit of a hit check.
Yeah, but somehow, some way, that is not enough for you to accrue massive damage. It's just you to give it a little bit of a scare moment with the way the race winding down. As I said before, just don't damage the car, and they're not gonna make really, really big German words. As I'm getting notions of, like, say. Here's the thing. It's 6 minutes to go. If I say it, you can say hashtag blame Lorenzo. Even I've been like blamed for many things through the entirety of my whole life. I just shrug it off and say it is what it is. So as I'm seeing like the blinking of the headlights as Sabout is blinking towards the Olympus BMW to say get out of my way. I have a beautiful and very angry Ethan Bass on the 4 GT trying to overtake me. He's gonna get out of the way probably, but the one thing I don't want to have with so little to go is a Ford breathing down your neck, ready to kill you with a very roaring V8 on the back of that engine.
5 minutes left to go, about 3 laps on the docket for us here tonight from Mount Panorama Circuit, playing host to the season finale of the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld. And I tell you what, I honestly love this series because, you know, you have their endurance series, right? That's obviously like one of the big ones. It's the big endurance championship that everyone strives to be a part of. You have the club sports series, which it's like an endurance series light. It allows you to have the longer races, but with cars that are a bit more manageable. Instead of prototypes and GT3s, you have things like the touring cars, the GT4s, you know, stuff that allows you to kind of slow it down, take your time a little bit more. And then you have the GT Sprint Series, where you can have the shorter events, but you can have just as much of the action that you can get in the Endurance Championship without having to worry so much about driver swaps, having to be in such a long event. IVRA's got a little bit of something for everybody, and I do truly love that about them. Oh, we've got a wreck, and that's, I believe, in the Dipper section, obscured by trees. Trying to find who that is.
It is Rushy Specialist.
They had to take the tow to pit row for the 313. It was Henna Hakkinen, and that was just out of Skyline. That was a huge wreck. The car almost rolled over. It actually wrecked twice, once into Skyline and then a second time in the Dipper as a result of the damage that it had procured.
Yeah, and luckily for them, I think that was on a toolable spot without throwing the yellow flag. So we are still green with 2 laps to go over here. So we're going to look at the replay. What has happened to Henna Hakkinen? As the car just steps out on its rear during the transition from the right-hand king to the left-hand king.
And again, you're going to see he just drops it on one of the dips. And that was just the case of the back end coming around when he lost control. But again, another look at a driver that no doubt had a heart and hand moment. Chris Chatterton, the 208, was right behind all of that, saw the Porsche fly into the wall, had to slam on the brakes, and kept the safe distance away, but you weren't quite sure what Hakkinen was going to do there, and could have been a lot worse than it ended up being.
Yeah, luckily for them, it wasn't as bad as we initially expected, and we didn't get our, I think that would be the first checkered flag under green, under yellow flag conditions here on IVRA GT Sprint Series. So basically, Sean Campbell can end this on a high note with a green flag as he goes down the mount, not the Mount Straight, but still goes down the Conrad Straight for the second to last time.
Sean Campbell continuing to lead the way. 2 minutes left to go on the clock, and this is going to be final lap, I do believe, this time by. It'll be close to it. 2 minutes and 2 seconds was the last time through, so this will be final lap this time through, as it's less than 2 minutes to go when he crosses the start-finish line. So unless he can pick up 3 seconds on this lap, which I doubt it, that'd be faster than his pole lap by a couple seconds. This will be the last trip around. You saw the white flag waving, courtesy of Barney the Flagman, taking the trip to Down Under Australia, as we will continue to work our way for the final time around the Mount Panorama Circuit, and it's one more lap in the IVRA GG Sprint Series, powered by Heusinkveld.
And that would mark basically the 6th win of the season for them. 6 for 8. I think they could be very satisfied this season with the 75% win rate in this season. Showing that Porsche is a very good car to win races. And they have a good pedigree. Showing why German cars are the best. Yes, it is a German car, Nolan.
Moving swiftly on from that dig at my expense, Sean Campbell back in towards Skyline for the final time. He'll dive down and into the dipper. A Porsche 911 GT3R, driven by the 170, has been dominant from the pit stop window. We thought it'd be the Benitez show and Alex Bennett. Bennett led every single lap leading up to the pit stops, but Sean Campbell was able to get it better on the pit stop sequence, went for the undercut. It paid off when Bennett hit lap traffic under the Fuso signage for the final time today. Sean Campbell will work his way down and into the chase. Just has to nail one final braking zone, and it is into Murray's corner. It has been a true season to remember for the 170 machine for Delta Sport. Sean Campbell officially takes the Division 1 title out of the final corner. Your winner in Bathurst and the winner of the IVRA GT Sprint Series, powered by Heusinkveld. What a drive for Sean Campbell, doing an amazing job for himself. We'll look back to the likes of the German sim racing 246, who will cross the line, and this is in fact going to be a bit further down the field. This is the Prestanda Nomad 356 machine, and with them taking the win in division number 3, or second place in division number 3, they will surely be taking the win as well in that third division, as Aiden Rafai takes up the Division 3 title. And for German Sim Racing's 246 entry, while they did not finish this race 39 laps down, I do believe that the gap is too much to surmount. So I believe German Sim Racing in their 246 entry will be your Division 2 champions as well, although we will await for at least confirmation on that deal. But Lorenzo, what a way to end off the championship here in this one. And while the title battles may not have been there, we at least had a whole lot of on-track battles to keep us entertained for these 2 hours.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we got a little bit of everything. You know, green flag drama, comedy, a lot of strategies playing out, and also drama again. And yellow flags, green flags, restart, shenanigans. So we got a little bit of everything for this finale. Much more action-packed than I expected it to be for a track that sometimes doesn't deliver in terms of action in a mid-race portion, as they finally got to take the ever traditional celebratory jump out of the chase, as some cars have a massive failure, some cars have massive blunders. Apparently they need to take the Bo Albert how to jump the chase barrier. It's gonna be a big line of cars trying to do that moving forward.
Luke Burton-Shaw lining up his Porsche for an attempt. He'll cross down and over towards the chase on board. Hang on for the wild ride. Right in front of him, you see Chris Bell in the Saddler Racing BMW go for a ride.
Oh, he's not aligned. He's not gonna make it.
Oh, he made it! And he's
Nope.
into the Repco barriers.
Nope, didn't make it. For you to be considered as a successful attempt, you need to jump from the beginning of the chase wall into over the tire barrier and land it on the tarmac straight forward. So that was a partially successful attempt, but it's not going to count that as a successful attempt.
Oh boy. We'll give him A for effort on that one. And we'll look at your official post-race results here from the official season finale of the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld as Sean Campbell burns it down on the front straightaway. He is your winner in the 170 and your overall champion as well for Division Number 1. Jan Sankowski going to be back in that second position with Alex Bennett on to round out the podium. German Sim Racing locks out 4th and 5th with Underdrust and Locatello. It is Deutsche Payment Esports then to win Division Number 2 on the day as Nicholas Schaefer picks up 6th. Alessio Canton's going to be back in 7th with Ethan Boss in 8th. Jeremy Gonsalves back in 9th with Chris Bell to round out the top 10. Moving on down to 11th spot. It's going to be Jake Shuri with Aaron Ackles down in 12th. Luke Burtonshaw picks up 13th with Alejandro Castanera back in 14th spot. Nick McLaughlin going to be in 15th with Aiden Rafai in 16th. Lyuba Vazrestovskaya going to be in 17th with Simon Atrol in 18th. Frederic Beckdorf going to be in 19th with Jorge Carrera down in 20th. And to be the last cars in the lead lap, you'll be having down to 21st spot the iLiveries machine for the 241 with GSC Racing to be in 22nd. From there, it's going to be, again, GSC Racing to be in 23rd spot, one lap down. There you got Hannah Hakkinen, Stefan Shela, Chris Chatterton, Nuno Escosta, Christopher Stephenson, Olaf Soskuk, Jason Dilworth. And to round out the field, it's going to be Echelon Simsport, German Sim Racing, #Red, and both Valor's Motorsports Eras and Apollo Machines to round out a 34-car grid. What a night that we have had here in this one, as we will start things off first with Sean Campbell, your race winner on this one for the post-race show, as we'll bring your Division 1 Delta Sport champion for the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld. Sean, you take a championship and by a healthy margin at that, and it was all pit strategy that nets you a race win here today in Mount Panorama.
Yeah, it seemed I think I was just braver in pit entry because of the mandatory time, like the mandatory 60 second. I think I might have just sent it harder. I almost got an off track, which would have been really bad, but it didn't happen. And I was able to finally get past the Merc, the rocket ship.
And obviously, it was a heck of a fight, although I will say you did not let the Medici Racing Mercedes breathe for a minute up there, up until you made that undercut to get around them on the pit stop cycle. Why don't you kind of walk us through what it was like having to keep on the pressure? Were you ever thinking of going for that overtake, or was kind of an undercut to try to get around him always the plan?
I was trying to overtake him the whole time, I'll be honest. I could never get the run on him. He was so good on the exits. Just, I don't think it was a setup thing. I think he just had it better on the exits. But I was looking to try and find any advantage to overtake, like any exploitation, to see what I could do. I looked a couple times, I think, in Forest Elbow. I was really thinking about it, kind of like what Matt Campbell did in real life, right? That would be funny. But I think the closest I got was final corner, one of those laps, and he defended it really well and forced me to go side by side with Jan.
Yeah, but at the end of the thing, Sean, you got away with the win over here, and you did a celebratory jump, and that was crisp. And it begs into question: did your rally background that I've been seeing lately come into play for you to get that clean and crisp jump?
Maybe. You know, I definitely. Is it weird to say that I have practiced that jump many times, and I guess the rally helped. I'm looking back at it; it was very clean, like dead straight. You get off the throttle to get the weight to transfer to the front, so it doesn't like pop up. You know.
Yeah. But I gotta say that was probably one of the cleanest jumps I ever seen. But I'll take it back to Nolan. I think he has better comments or questions than I do.
Well, I only got one more for you here, Sean. Obviously, you've taken the Division 1 championship here today. Do you plan on making a return then for next season to go and defend your crown?
Hopefully, yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen now. that things have not changed, but things are going to get interesting. And hopefully I will be back because this was really fun and the racing was really good.
Well, thank you for joining us up here tonight then, Sean. Congratulations on a hard-earned title over the course of the season. Why don't you go back down to celebrating with your Delta Sport teammates. Congratulations again. We'll see you next season, hopefully.
All right. Peace.
Well, Sean Campbell join us up here in the broadcast booth. We will move things on down. We'll see if we can't find one of these other drivers further down the field. How about we talk to the one driver of the... Actually, you know what? Lorenzo, I'll let you make the decision on who we talk to next, since you're going to be the one standing by with them.
All right, so I think we're going to bring, I'm just trying to see who won this race. I think I'm going to bring Nicholas Schaefer over here from the Deutsche Pim, and also Marius Politilkes as well, that is his teammate in the Deutsche Payment car. So Nicholas and Marius, congratulations on the race so far, as you guys had a solid run with that Porsche, and I got to say, no way you guys felt threatened in this race, but how was it driving the Porsche around an iconic track like this?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. Yeah, Marius, you go.
Yeah, thank you as well. It was quite the challenge, because the Porsche tends to be so loose on the mountain, but it also helps the Porsche with being fast. And yeah, we just tried our best to stick as most up front as we could and keep up. And then, yeah, that was like our goal for the whole race, just to be part of the front pack, basically.
Yeah, and that brings another question, and you partially answered that for me. What was the mindset coming into this race? Because looking from the Division 2 perspective, top 6 to avoid pre-qualifying into the next season, you guys are kind of secured into it, but now with this win in Div 2, top 6 secured, what is the focus for the team going into the next season of the IVRA or IVRA GT Sprint Series?
We don't know if we're going to compete in the next IVRA sprint, because I have to move and I'm not able to do sim racing at sometimes. Because it's we don't know yet how we're gonna do it, but we're going to try. That's for sure.
Yeah, and well, with that being said, Marius, Nicholas, again, congratulations on the win in Div 2 over here. Of course, not champions, but it's still P2, has to be respectable. And I really hope to see you next season in whether it's going to be in the GT Sprint Series, Endurance, or Club Sport.
Yeah, thank you very much.
The drivers of the 287 machine joining us up here tonight. We'll move down and we'll talk to one of our Division 3 finishers. And I will talk to Nick McLaughlin, the race winner in Division 3 at the end of this one, taking it in his Precision Racing Esports 311 machine at the end of 2 hours of racing action. And, well, Nick, for you had quite the fight with Prestanda Nomad there, especially in the closing laps. And you're just able to hang on for the race win. Second place over in Division number 3, but hey, still runner-up, not bad at all.
It was a good battle all season. I'm happy to get the win at Bathurst, but we came up just short. Aiden kept it high enough to secure that championship, so hats off to them. They drove great.
You're able to take the second place in the standings, and of course, a hard-fought fight overall for you. Why don't you walk us through this season as a whole and kind of what the journey's been like getting to this point from where we started?
Oh man, it's been a roller coaster. We started off with a win at Nürburgring and then followed it up with a DNF at Imola. So it was kind of since round 2 just trying to claw my way back up the standings and anything I could do to try catch back up to Prestanda, but come up just short. But I'll still take second. It was a lot of fun.
Second in the championship, first in the race overall, so you managed to at least cap it out with a race win in Division 3 in this individual race, but obviously you were close to that title entering this championship here tonight. Do you reckon you'll be able to go out and see if you can't get one more and go for that victory next season?
Oh yeah, we'll be back for sure. This is a great league to run. IVRA put together a gem of a league, so definitely be back, and we'll see if we can't challenge it for next season.
That will be it then for Nick McLaughlin. Thank you for joining us here on the Precision Racing Esports 113. We'll wish you the best of luck then next season.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
As the 311 join us up here in the broadcast booth. We'll move to the Division 3 champions after today. It is Aiden Raffay and Ryan Scott Hamilton join us up at the broadcast booth. Your Division 3 champions standing by with Lorenzo.
Yeah, so percent. Oh, actually, okay, my microphone is unmuted. I thought I committed the cardinal sin, but anyway, Aiden and Ryan, congratulations on the championship. That was hard earned. You guys basically had 2 wins in the season so far. Had a win in Imola, had a win in Monza, drop points to Suzuka. But did you guys feel threatened with the Precision Racing Esports or World of Sim Racing coming time closer with the performance in the season? Or you guys, with the performance you were having, being nearly dominant, just dropping low points in every ring, were you guys afraid of maybe not winning this championship at any point?
Who was that aimed to? I'll answer that.
Yeah, you can answer it.
Yeah, no worries. So Nick has drove a fantastic season. He has been super consistent. The guys at Rusty Spatulas have been super consistent. This whole season was just a war of attrition. And all we wanted to do was just always be up there in the running. We set ourselves a target of podiums every race. We did that mostly. Suzuka was a definite low point for us, and we sort of committed ourselves to bounce back. We could have had, if things have gone differently at Suzuka, we could have, it could have been this day today could have been a lot more easier. But all we've been doing all season is we just focus on ourselves. I set it up, and Aiden knocks it down, and huge credit to Aiden. He's had to be there in the stressful situations, and and with the rules allowing for obviously having a faster driver and another driver in the team, we've executed that to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, not to mention that Suzuka was definitely, not to state again, but Suzuka was definitely a low point where I'd actually just crashed the car out and it kind of cost us getting points for reaching the minimum requirement, but definitely have seen a big bounce back from Suzuka to Monza, and this race was just an echo of our collaboration together where we worked so perfectly in how we approach the race, and especially coming to our strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I actually have one more question, because I believe that Percent and Nomad is going to come back next season in IVRA GT. You guys were having 3 teams having really good performances, but one thing that me and my colleague Nolan, we were talking about and we were discussing is how you guys were approaching this car with the BMW, the Mercedes. You guys were in the top 10, basically comfortable for the majority of the race. We were wondering, and I believe you guys are going to confirm me with a yes or no, I believe you guys were running same setups on the Mercedes, weren't you?
Actually, no, it's not. Me and Jason, we have a... Sorry to burst your bubble, Lorenzo, sorry. No, basically, no, so Jason and I, we're kind of similar when we start off on a setup, but then Jason goes off on his own and does a setup, and we go our different way, because I sort of handicap myself for Aiden, because all I care about is that if Aiden can happily drive that car quick and safe, I'll happily handicap myself to facilitate that. For this specific race, I had a wrist injury last week coming into it, so I didn't get as much practice in. But we basically just, I know this may sound stupid, but at the last sort of, during the warm-up session for this race, I did a version 1.5 of the setup last minute, just changed a quick thing. Ada went out, said he was very happy with it, and I'm like, cool, right, we'll run with that, and it worked. So it's not the most ideal way, but with things in the way and a very busy schedule, because we're looking ahead now to Nürburgring 24 next week. But right now we're just going to sit back and celebrate, aren't we, Aiden?
Yes, sir! Big celebrations.
Well, you guys got to celebrate with after a season like that, and I hope everybody in the team does share the same feeling as well. Guys, take a rest, take a bow, and congratulations on the division championship win.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you,
Big
guys.
shout out to RaceSpot. Thank you very much, guys. You do a fantastic job. I always watch it back. Thank you very much.
Commentary is always excellent.
Well, thank you. We wait for the kind words from Aiden Raffalia and Ryan Scott Hamilton. They are, of course, the drivers of the 356 and the Division 3 champions exiting tonight at Mount Panorama. We will wish you both best of luck, and we'll move things on down to next season then. So as we get set to move things along in the post-race show, we'll bring up the 148 of Jan Senkowski here, the driver of the team Heusinkveld, 148, second place in tonight's season finale, and second place in the championship as well for you, Jan. You come down runner-up in both race and title. Obviously, the season as a whole, it's been up and down, but overall, I think this is a good way to close things out for you.
Yeah, for sure. Podium is always nice, but yeah, as I said, last time we raced the Monza, I wanted to go for the win, but yeah, I was a bit too quick then in the end today. I really tried it at the end, but yeah, in a few laps, I don't know, the car, it felt like it lost power, like on the straights, it just ticked up. I'm curious to know why. And I was lucky then that I think Bennett behind and one lap a mistake, so that I didn't come close enough in the slipstream, because otherwise it could have been really, really close with second place.
And of course, we look forward then to the next season. Obviously, it was second place this year. This season, excuse me. Do you think for the next season you'll be able to do one better and go for a title?
I hope so. It will be the goal, definitely, for me. But yeah, like, we have to see that it wasn't me all the time in the car. Like, we shared the car in a few races with a few others, so like the second place in the championship isn't not just my doing, but you know, also with my teammates who did their other races.
Well, we're a bit pressed for time, so we'll have to cut things short here, I'm afraid. But again, thanks for taking the time to join us, and congratulations on the podium in both championship and race tonight. We'll wish you the best of luck then in the coming seasons.
Thank you. I'll see you.
Jan Senkowski for Team Heusinkveld in the 148 Porsche 911 GT3R. That'll move us down to our final driver to talk to tonight. It is Ethan Boss in the 219. Third place here tonight in division number 2 in his Ford GT3, standing by once again with Lorenzo.
So Ethan, sending off that big, beautiful Ford into third place in division 2 must be pleasant for you, despite everything that transpired in this race, right?
I don't think there was much that ever really went wrong with that race. I think that was just great. I always love racing around Bathurst, and if I'm in my favourite car, I had even more fun.
Absolutely. I got I'm a massive defender of the Ford. The Ford is the best car. Don't at me and Lorenzo Bonder on Twitter. But with that being said, all said and done, Ethan, I have to ask now that probably the Ford is not going to be in the GT3 rotation anymore. With potential GT3 cars coming into iRacing in the future, and this is a whole speculation. But if it comes back, let's just say the possibility of the Ford being back, would you drive it, or you want to go for something another challenge that is completely out of the gates of everybody driving?
I guess it really does depend on when the seasons drop and what rotation iRacing want to do for a next car. We all know what the rumours for the next car in GTD with the real life version of it coming into Daytona. But if it does come back and I'm allowed to drive it, I will 100% drive it. Unless, obviously, who knows, maybe the team will want to field multiple cars and they'll want the same car in every class, who knows.
Absolutely, Ethan. Well, with that being said, enjoy the rest of the week. And I don't know if you're going to be racing at the Nürburgring Nordschleife in the Nürburgring 24, but enjoy the rest of the week. And with that being said, enjoy also the top 6, because you made it top 6 and avoid the pre-quality shenanigans in about 5 months.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, top 5 coming into Road America, I think, was always the aim. The unfortunate issue with Road America kind of thing set us back, but I think we have the top 5 for the old Ford, so that's not too bad. If this is the final event for the Orbit Ford GT3, then I'm very happy with that. That was a good bit of fun.
Well, that being said, well, thank you, and we'll take you back to you, Nolan.
And with that, that is going to be a wrap for us then here from RaceSpotTV. What a championship it has been for us here, and what a final race as well. Could not have asked for anything better. We had all the action, and there is only good things coming forward once again for the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld. So for myself, Nola Rampel, Lorenzo Bonder beside me in the broadcast booth, and for Dane Baird downstairs, in the productions chair, and as well as everybody else that's helped to make this series possible over this wild season. I want to thank everybody once again for taking time to join us on RaceSpotTV for more IVRA action, and we'll be seeing you all next season, where we'll get set to return better than ever.